What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Friday, TGIF, August 18th. DK Show on the air. Radio dials, you got a couple of those puppies at you. 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Stream it there. You got your app, you got your Google and Alexa home devices. Video stream up and rolling YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Anybody else ready for the weekends? I'm ready for the weekends, no doubt about it. So, what do we got on the game plan here this morning? High school football officially underway. We had some games last night. Menominee picking up a win. Chippewa Falls picking up a win. We'll break it all down, go through all the games and the games on schedule for tonight when our good friend and expert Brandon Berg hops in studio just past 7 o'clock here this morning. So, we'll hit that up as we are getting back in that routine here a little bit. We'll catch up with Dr. Crow. It's been a couple weeks, but we'll catch up with Dr. Crow inside the training room, Triple Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine here this morning. If you're like myself, I'm sure there's quite a bit of you out there, quite a few of you out there. Been a couple of late nights in a row here, and Brewers couldn't even pick up one win. Last night, falling to the Dodgers, 1-0. Corbin had his stuff going. He had his stuff going. Fortunately, the offense for the Brewers, again, couldn't get things rolling. Shutout. 1-0. Lance Lynn, give him credit too. But, Brewers, again, just they had 5 hits. They out hit the Dodgers last night. But, I guess – going from 2, 3, 5, was that 2 hits, 3 hits, 5 hits? So 10 total hits in 3 games here. Last night they had opportunity, runners in scoring position. Then Tyrone Taylor, a little bit of an error in base running, getting thrown out in between third and home. Frustrating, right? It's frustrating. At least Brewers actually had a game with no errors like they did in the first couple of games last in the series with the Dodgers, but man, frustrating, especially when lights out Corbin Burns last night had his stuff going. Brewers right now hold on to a 2-game lead, so even being swept by the Dodgers there, Brewers were heading into that series up 3.5, so they've fallen back. I should say they've lost a game and a half lead, so they're still up 2 over both the Reds and the Cubs right now. But things ain't going to get any easier here for the Brewers. Not even an off day, quick turnaround. They've got the Texas Rangers starting tonight. Brandon Woodruff. Hopefully he could be the savior here and kind of end this little schneid that the crew is on. But Brandon Woodruff's going to get to start tonight. Freddie Peralta's going to get to start Saturday. Adrian Hauser is going to get to start on Sunday. That's also when Max Scherzer gets to start for the Rangers. So we'll preview that series coming up here in just a little while here, especially with B coming in here. So we'll chat some Brewers, chat some baseball and such. But we got another preseason game coming up here for the Packers. Preseason game number 2 tomorrow. Packers, Patriots. Second joint practice yesterday. And while day 1 of their practice was on Wednesday, where it sounded like the Packers had the upper hand, sounds like it was clearly the Patriots who had the better day yesterday. So take that for what it's worth. But nonetheless, sounds like Jordan Love struggled yesterday in practice. Completion percentage for the beat writers who have been there and kind of keeping tabs of like team periods and such when Love is out there. Completion percentage is only around about a 56% now. Some beat writers have it a little bit slightly different here and there, but it's all based off, if they're watching everything. But around 56%, which, let's face it, that's not ideal, right? That's not necessarily great to just be a little over half in completion percentage. So, but hopefully a little bit of a bounce back performance for Love. But with that being said, with the game coming up tomorrow night, between the Packers and the Patriots. What are some of the things you'll be watching? Maybe do you want to see something kind of continue from the game last Friday? Do you want to see some improvements? What players are you going to be watching? What position groups will you be watching? What do you got? Put on your scouting caps and let me know this more. All right, start hitting me up with some texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Twitter, DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports too. Or comment on the video stream there. But if you were to put on your scouting caps, what are you paying attention to the most in the second game, the second preseason game going up against Patriots? Now, Matt LaFleur was kind of non-committal whether, Love would be playing in this game, which I guess I'd be a little surprised if he didn't, to be honest with you. Now, how much would he play? Maybe kind of something similar to last week, since they had, some joint practices going up against the Patriots there. But nonetheless, I'd be a little surprised if he didn't get any, like a series or two or even three or something like that. Got to throw him out there, don't you? You got to continue to go out there. So, but we'll hit that up coming up here in just a little bit. Also, we're going to do some cream of the crop. So you guys can play along too. You guys can always play along too. Cream of the crop from the last week or so. We did it last Friday, so last week or so. Also, we'll do the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlights. B will help us out with that one. Brandon Berg will help us out with that one. Maybe we got to, with high school football underway and such. I know we had some state amateur golf stuff going on too. But we'll let Brandon help us out with that pick. So, but I want to get things going here this morning. It is a football Friday. More ways than one with high school football continuing tonight too. But with preseason game number 2 coming up here, what are those things that you're going to be paying attention to? Is it going to be Jordan Love again? Is it going to be maybe, Emmanuel Wilson? What kind of repeat performance does he have from Friday night's game? Is it the continued, reps and experience for some of those younger wide receivers? Is it the safety battle? We mentioned yesterday Moore was getting reps with the ones. Well, yesterday they went back to Jonathan Owens. Yesterday, Rasul Douglas was doubling down that he's the starting safety, and even Jean Charles was saying he's a starting safety. But then when reporters were kind of calling him out, saying we haven't seen you, he said, well, he kind of backtracked and said it was during time when reporters aren't there. So is it safety battle? Is it you want to see continued good play from guys like Carrington Valentine? Been hearing his name for the last week a whole lot more. Week plus, if you remember, we highlighted him even before the game on Monday or on Friday. So what is it? Who is it that you'll be paying attention to the most coming up here in this game? I've got a list. Again, I could probably make a case for every single position group with this thing like we did last week. But I'm going to kind of focus a little bit more on, from what we saw last Friday, taking a look at that game in the last, few days here. Developments from the last few days, performances from Friday. I'm going to kind of focus on just what we've seen in the past week and turn it into what do I want to see coming up with this game tomorrow night. Because I think there's some important stuff here, and there's one big one for me. There's kind of one big one for me. So let's get things going here this morning. Let's just jump into it, all right? Take our first break so we can get into this whole discussion here. Talk a little green and gold to open it up. Previewing tomorrow night's preseason game. Players, position groups to watch. What do you be paying attention to? Let's talk about it. We'll be back in just a couple minutes to get things rolling on the leadoff.
Got a take on today's topic but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
If Culligan isn't treating your home's water, you likely have water problems all around you, like hard-to-clean chalky residue on your shower, faucets, and bath, stains around your sink drains, spots on your dishes and glassware, plus dull, dried-out hair and skin, and problems you don't see, like scaly buildup in the water heater and pipes. But have no fear, you're in the clear with Culligan Products and Service. For all your residential and commercial water filtration needs,
visit CulliganH2O.com for your local Culligan water dealer.
In Wisconsin, making memories together is for everyone, whatever your ability. So here's to soaking up surf culture right here on Wisconsin's Fresh Coast, to making time for stargazing as a family, and to imaginations cleared for takeoff. Here's to festies with besties, and singing along to your favorite song. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Start your summer getaway at travelwisconsin.com. Sponsored by Travel Wisconsin.
Experience movies the way they were meant to be at your locally owned family theaters, Micon Cinemas. Here's what's playing now: Barbie, Oppenheimer, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Meg 2 The Trench, Strays, Blue Beetle, Sound of Freedom, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and Talk to Me. For theaters and showtimes, find them online at MiconCinemas.com.
Everybody has pivotal moments that they remember, like where were you when this happened? Ball went through Bill Buckner's legs, or the first time I saw Michael Jordan fly through the air. Maybe when you graduated college, or the first time your family vacationed at the beach. A lot of them are captured on old VHS tapes or photos, but they're fading, falling apart, and you're at the risk of losing them forever. Legacy Box professionally digitizes your old tapes to the cloud, safely archiving them, ready to watch and share. We've used Legacy Box here on the show. Safe, easy, simple, professional. Load your Legacy Box with tapes, film, pictures, audio. Send them in no time at all. They convert them to digital. With Legacy Box, you can save and replay the highlight reels of your life. Visit legacybox.com/Patrick for a limited time. Get 40% off your order. That's legacybox.com/Patrick.
Success is picking up extra shifts, but now you want to be the boss. Success is getting your foot in the door, but now you want to take the next step. Success looks different to everyone. And for more than 75 years, University of Maryland Global Campus has helped working adults like you succeed again. Choose from more than 125 degree and certificate programs with online and hybrid courses. No application fee if you apply by August 31st. Learn more at umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.
Today's job market is full of demand for skilled trade workers. Electricians, welders, mechanics, these and other trades are the backbone of every community. They're also a huge part in making sure the Army National Guard is always fulfilling its mission of service to our country and communities. Soldiers train to keep the power flowing, engines running, and supplies moving. The skilled trades these soldiers perform are the same ones needed in today's civilian workforce. Army National Guard soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. With options from plumber to helicopter mechanic and everything in between, soldiers are able to select the trades that best fit their lives. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession and serve your community and country by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hunters, let me ask you a question. In your gun cabinet, do you have a deer rifle that's been passed down throughout your family? Maybe from your dad, grandpa, or great-grandfather? I do. I've got an old 30-30 bolt action that's been passed down throughout the years. And it was my first deer rifle I used when I was 12 years old, and it will be my son's first deer rifle as well. Every deer rifle has a story to tell throughout the years. Stories about that big one you got and missed. So if you're looking for that new deer rifle to begin a new set of stories, Let Tilden Gun help you write that new chapter in your deer hunting book. Whether you're looking for a new deer rifle for yourself so you can continue the tradition of passing along that older rifle to your young one, or looking for your first-time hunter's first deer rifle, Tilden Gun can help you. They did for me, and they will continue to help me write these stories in my deer hunting book. The added extra bonus about Tilden Gun, family-owned and operated, and the best deals in the Chippewa Valley. Just visit Tilden Gun today at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls and visit tildengun.com.
Voice Guy here, bumping into your programming to remind you to subscribe to the Man Cave Podcast. New episodes uploaded daily, and it's available on your favorite podcasting platform. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Do you believe that everyone deserves a safe and decent place to call home? At Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity, they share this belief and work tirelessly to make it a reality. Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit organization dedicated to building homes and communities for families in need with the help of generous donors, dedicated volunteers, and partnerships with local communities. They're able to bring hope and stability to those who need it most. Imagine the joy on a family's face as they step foot into their new home, a home that they've worked alongside volunteers to build. It's a life-changing moment that fills hearts with gratitude and hope for a brighter future. But you know what? We need your help. Whether you can spare your time, donate funds, or offer your skills, every contribution helps. Together, together we can make a lasting impact. Be a part of something greater than yourself. Visit cvh4h.org or stop by the Restore to learn more. Together, let's build homes, build hope, and build a better future for families in need, because everyone deserves a place to call home. Brandon's mom hitting up the texting line early this morning. She needs your help here, G-Man. Morning, Dan. Disgusted Brewers fan here. Pathetic is all I could say about 3 runs in 3 games. Calling for G-Man to give lots of mojo for a sweep of the Rangers. Have a great weekend. Go, Pack, go. G-Man saying I'll be watching the Packers special teams tomorrow, and the Brewers will win the series versus the Rangers. G-Man, I think she's asking for you to kind of manifest a sweep for the Brewer Crew. If you can do that, buddy. All right. Let's get things rolling here this morning on that leadoff. Green and gold. No practice today after having a couple of really long joint practice. Each joint practice was about 2 hours, 15 minutes, a little over. I think yesterday's was officially clocked at 2 hours and 17 minutes. The first one was a little bit longer than that too. So, but last couple days, joint practices with the Patriots. First day, by all accounts, it was the Packers who had the advantage. Yesterday, sounds like it was clearly the Patriots' day at practice and such. So now with the off day today, we got the game tomorrow night. What are you going to be looking for? What are you going to be paying attention to the most? If you were putting on your scouting cap, what are you watching? I've got a list here, and I'm going to continue to look, and I think this is probably going to be the same for a lot of people, but it's still going to be Jordan Love, and a lot of it kind of, I was hoping to kind of say, okay, continued positive growth from Jordan Love. Solid game last Friday night. Obviously, everybody's focusing on the miss to Musgrave, and you can't do that. Joint practice against the Patriots was above average. Was kind of the phrase that was being thrown out there. Yesterday, not good. So I want to see a bounce back if Jordan Love plays, how much he plays. I want to see him go out there. I want to see him stack success and be a little bit more consistent. I want to see consistency start to develop. Everybody's going to have bad days. We know that. Not everybody's going to go out there and, just light it up every single day, every single practice. It's just, we're all human. Everybody's human. So it's just not going to happen. But I want to start to see more times than not consistent performance from Love, positive performance from Jordan Love, continue to grow, continue to develop. So I know Matt LaFleur kind of non-committal. I would expect Love to play. I could be completely wrong. Maybe they're factoring in all the time he got in with the joint practices with the Patriots, and that kind of determines it. Whether or not, I still feel like you gotta play him. You got to go out there, and he's got to continue to get reps. So I like I said a little bit earlier, I'd be shocked if Love doesn't play at all. And I just want to see him continue to develop that consistency, continue to grow and get that experience, whether it's in preseason or not. Just get those snaps. Work with your team. Continue to work on the connections, the development with your younger wideouts, especially the rookies. Continue to grow with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. So, again, it's going to be when Love is out there, when number 10 is out there, how's he looking? How is he continuing to grow? Staying with the offense, if we're kind of breaking it down here, the depth on that offensive line, I think it seems like at least we're kind of settled on the starting unit. For a little bit there, Zach Tom was getting reps with the ones at center. That seems to kind of calm down right now, where Myers is going to be the guy. I mean, even John Runyon Jr. was getting snaps, but I think a lot of it might be just due to the fact of like, hey, we're covering our bases in case something happens up in the regular season. We're getting guys working now, emergency situations in the regular season in case anything like that happens to pop up. So I think we're pretty much solidified our starting offensive line. That's Bakhtiari, that's Elton Jenkins, that's Myers, that's Runyon Jr., and that's Zach Tom on the right side. Now I want to see, I'm kind of a little bit more intrigued about the second unit. I just had a brain fart there. Excuse me. A little bit more intrigued about the second unit coming up here. Left tackle, Yosh Nijman. But could we see maybe some, like Caleb Jones, I know is a little bit dinged up. I think they're still high on him. But he's been kind of getting work over at right tackle there too. So I'm kind of curious to see the second unit in terms of the tackle positions. Yosh left tackle, but he's, maybe getting some more work over there at right tackle, because in the last couple weeks here, we've been seeing Rasheed Walker, the second-year man out of Penn State, getting some reps over on the left side at that left tackle position. So could we see the emergence of him? Maybe could he be the backup left tackle, and Yosh continues to develop over on the right tackle side, on the right-hand side? How's that all going to play out? Where does Caleb Jones fit into this situation? And then the interior guards. I want to see Sean Ryan get better. I want to see, is it Hansen? If he goes out there, can he win a job? He's been banged up. Last year, it seemed like the Packers were very high on him and giving him an opportunity and such. Got dinged up a little bit and can't miss the first preseason game. Can he go out there and win himself a job? And I think this is put up or shut up time for Royce Newman. He's got to go out there if he wants to make this ball club, in my opinion. The man has got to go out there and start playing better and start playing clean, good fundamental football. Now, maybe he gets the advantage because he has logged a lot of snaps. He has started some games, especially his rookie year. Maybe he gets the advantage of that in that essence. But he has got to go out there and he has got to just perform better. Because I think right now, when you look at this squad, when you look at the depth on the offensive line unit, The one question I would have a little bit here would be the interior unit in terms of depth. It would be who are those guys? We mentioned Jake Hansen could play center guard. You got like a Cole Schneider who's a center. You got a James Empey who's a center. But when you look at guard depth outside of John Runyon and Elton Jenkins, you're talking like Royce Newman. We mentioned Hansen. We know Zach Tom can play it, but, he's probably going to win the starting right tackle spot. So, I mean, if the Packers were to, knock on wood, suffer an injury to one of their interior linemen like Jenkins and like John Runyon Jr., I'm a little bit nervous on the depth from the guard position. Now, they could probably shuffle some things around. Myers could probably go play guard or that sort of stuff, and Tom could go play guard, and you could bring one of those tackles in and that. You could probably get away with that. But just based off the depth at the guard position, that would be my one concern on the offensive line, depth-wise. We know they're 5. Walker, I think, is going to make the team, especially since he's been getting reps with the ones with Bakhtiari out. Josh Nijman's going to make the team. That's, 7 right there? Probably a couple more interior guys there. So maybe Royce Newman makes it because of his experience, but I just want to see better play from him. Just want to see a better performance from him. Offensively, again, staying on that side of the ball here a little bit. Emmanuel Wilson, can he make another case? Can he kind of force the hand maybe of Green Bay to carry 3 running backs on their opening day roster? Last year, they carried 2 on that initial countdown or cut down. They carried 2 running backs, and they took advantage of the call-ups from the practice squad. Smart, right? But if Emmanuel Wilson goes out there and performs like he did in game 1, where he's racking up over 100 yards a game, the Packers risk it potentially to cut him and expose him to, waivers and another team picking him up and adding them to their 53-man roster? Or, can he force the hand maybe to we can't afford to release him. He's been playing too well. We gotta keep him on that initial 53. Or does a Patrick Taylor make it harder for Green Bay to move on from him? He's got a lot of special teams reps under his belt. A little bit of a better blocker right now than Emmanuel Wilson. What edges out? I'm looking at that 3rd running back position, and it stinks because I was a Tyler Goodson fan. I was a Tyler Goodson fan last year. He had, I thought, a fantastic preseason. Practice squad last year. Got dinged up in that first game. He was out of a sling, but it remains to be seen whether he's going to be able to go. I doubt he's going to be able to go tomorrow night. So it might be Emmanuel Wilson. And then, Lou Nichols, we're still waiting on that. But I think it's between right now Patrick Taylor and Emmanuel Wilson for that 3rd running back spot, if they decide to keep 3. And I want to see, we were talking a little bit about it earlier in the week. Could Green Bay actually have a little bit of a typical fullback on the roster now? Could they actually bring in or have a fullback, a legit fullback? Now, I know he's listed as a tight end, but he's primarily been lining up in the fullback spot, and that's the rookie undrafted out of Nebraska, Austin Allen. And he's a bigger dude though too. He's 6'8", so he's not like a 6'2", bulldozer. You know what I'm talking about, like the 6'2", 250 sort of thing. Guy's 6'8". But they've been really lining him up as a more of a typical fullback spot. And he's kind of an intriguing option there, too. I know Josiah DeGuara, you got him as that kind of H-back role. He's listed as a tight end. But DeGuara is 6'2", 238. Austin Allen, if you want a guy that can maybe bulldoze guys over a little bit more, we saw him kind of do that on a couple blocks and running plays last Friday night. Maybe he might have an opportunity to crack this roster now with Tyler Davis, his season being done. So I think that opens the door for a guy like Austin Allen. So if you're watching the game tomorrow night, kind of watch for Austin Allen, number 49. See where he's lined up. See how much he's affected the game. Not necessarily, catching the ball, scoring, making big run or making big catches or anything like that. But if he's lined up in the backfield and how he is, being as a lead blocker, kind of keep an eye on 49. I think he might be a player that could potentially make this roster, and some fans would be like, who the heck is that? Well, he may not be racking up the stat sheet, with yards and touchdowns and catches and all that. But as a lead blocker, maybe. Big guy, though, 6'8", 253. They kind of want a little bit more of a body to lead, to open up holes for an Aaron Jones and an A.J. Dillon type out there. Especially, too, with as I already mentioned, Tyler Davis being out for the year. I think that opens up the door for a guy like Austin Allen to make this ball club. And then, wide receivers, obviously, outside of Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, I'm looking at Malik Heath. Can he continue to make a case for this roster? Jaden Reed, the rookie's going to make the team, but, getting more reps, getting more experience there. Samari Torre, can he continue to make some plays to make sure he makes this team? Dontavian Wicks, the rookie, who has been having a good camp. Is he going to go out there and continue to make plays? But the one receiver, too, that we didn't see last Friday that I think we're going to see for the first time tomorrow night, Grant DeBose, the rookie seventh rounder out of Charlotte. Matt LaFleur earlier this week was very complimentary towards him. Number 86. So number 86, if you see him lined up, making some, getting some playing time on Saturday, maybe kind of keep an eye on him. Can he try to crack this roster? Because right now, I'd say Green Bay carries probably about six wide receivers. That's Christian Watson. That's Romeo Doubs. Jaden Reed. Those are your locks. I would almost put Samari Torre there, but I'm not quite comfortable yet. You got Malik Heath. You got Dontavian Wicks. I mean, that would be 6 right there. Could Grant make a case for that? Or, again, is he going to be like that practice squad type of option? But continuing to see these younger wide receivers getting these reps, getting this experience. And then, kind of the same thing with the tight ends with Musgrave. But I want to see a little bit more from Tucker Kraft. We're all fairly high on Luke Musgrave, and he's kind of been the name of the week, especially in practices and such. But I want to see a little bit more from Tucker Kraft. He got a lot of playing time last week, more so in like the blocking and such, but because he's probably tight end number 2. If we consider Josiah DeGuara more of an H-back type of player and not a typical tight end, Tucker Kraft's probably the number 2 tight end. So for all the talk about, these having multiple tight end sets, I want to see a little bit more from Tucker Kraft. Defensively, let's look on that side of the ball here. I'm going to start off with the edge rushers because I want to see a little bit more from Lucas Van Ness. Didn't really pop off the screen last Friday, right? I want to see some opportunities from him, but I want to start to see things click. I want to see him make a couple plays. Yes, he was involved in the backfield play with Devontae Wyatt and such, but I want to see him kind of wrecking his blocks, bulldozing guys over, getting by those tackles. I want to see him pop off the screen. So it's start out. That's my number one thing on defense is seeing the first round pick Lucas Van Ness. Is it starting to be a little bit more comfortable for him? Is he starting to grasp it here a little bit? And then you got the other edge rushers, Rashawn. I don't know if he's going to play. Preston, those guys. Hollins is over there too, but Enoch Barre, those guys, you're looking at the depth of the edge rushers. But, could a guy like, you heard his name a little bit. He really didn't stack up the stat sheet on Friday, but he's an interesting guy to watch, and that's Brenton Cox Jr., number 57. He's the kid from Florida, but he was kicked off the Georgia and Florida football teams. So and a lot of people say if he wasn't kicked off those teams, he would have been a draft pick. So if he can keep his head on straight, could he be somebody that can crack this club? He's got talent. There's no question about it. Brenton's got a lot of talent. But can he channel that talent? Can he focus on that talent and just focus on football? Because he could be an intriguing option to make this roster. Got a lot of talent in the world. But can you focus on that, on the football? So keep an eye on 57 too. Keep an eye on 57, the edge rusher. You might see him later on in the game. But again, it's the depth. Rashawn, Preston, Lucas Van Ness, those are your locks. I think Justin Hollins is a lock to make it. Then you got Enoch Barre. And then maybe Brenton Cox. And then you got your 6 right there, potentially. Sticking with the linebackers, your inside linebackers. You've got Campbell, Quay Walker. I think Isaiah McDuffie makes it. And then maybe it's Wilson. That might be your 4 right there. Might not be a whole lot of openings, but a guy like Tariq Carpenter, guy who made the team last year, he's pushing for a spot. I mean, if you got 5 inside linebackers and 6 outside, that's 11 players right there out of your 53 dedicated to linebackers. There's some battles going on there. Could Tariq Carpenter, maybe push out a guy like Eric Wilson? I don't know. We'll see. That's maybe a back-end battle to kind of keep an eye on. Defensive line, Devontae Wyatt, you're watching, you're seeing him continue to get better and blow up his blocks. We know Kenny Clark. I want to see Slayton continuing to develop on there. But then, outside your starting 3 of Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt and Slayton, who else? Who else are we going to be watching? Carl Brooks. He's been getting all reps with, 1s and 2s. It's those rookies. It's Carl Brooks. Focus on him, number 94. All right, 94. Colby Wooden, the other rookie, 96. Those are 2 guys. If you haven't been watching them or haven't been kind of following along, look at those 2 guys on Saturday night when they get in the game, because those might be your top 2 backups. They may only carry 5 defensive linemen. With your base 3-4, but then, you get into your nickel and you only got 2 down linemen. They're probably only going to carry 5. So it's Kenny, it's Devontae, it's TJ Slayton, and then it's probably 2 rookies, Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks. Outside of Kenny Clark, not a ton of experience there. So it puts a little bit more on these youngsters like a Colby Wooden and a Carl Brooks. Watch those 2 guys on the line. Corners, it's fairly simple. Continuing to see Carrington Valentine go out there and make a case that, hey, I got to be a starter on this team. I got to be part of that top 5 that Matt LaFleur was just talking about. 5 best will play. He continues to ball out over there. Yeah, they're going to have to make a decision about moving Rasul Douglas over to safety or not. I already think Carrington Valentine's got a spot locked up. He would have to fall off completely to not make this team. Carrington's got a spot. And to say that about a 7th rounder already, I think speaks volumes. He's got a spot. Jair's got a spot. Rasul Douglas has a spot. I think at this point, Eric Stokes might start off the season on the pup. Keyshawn Nixon's got a spot. That's 4 corners right there. If we still consider Rasul a corner. So probably 6 corners, 5 or 6 corners there. Where's that last spot or 2 going to come from? Who's going to get it? Could Jean Charles continue to make a play for that? He's a smaller corner, but he ain't afraid to hit. I love his mentality. I love his mindset. Ballantine got dinged up a little bit last week. He's got the experience. So who's going to win that last spot or last 2 spots from the corner position? Safety, it's a revolving door over there. Can Rudy Ford, is Rudy Ford in danger of being cut? We know Dallin Levitt's going to make the team because of special teams. Darnell Savage is going to make the team. Sure seems like Jonathan Owens is going to make the team. He was back with the ones yesterday. That's your 3. That's 3 safeties right there. Anthony Johnson Jr., the rookie that I really like, was getting reps over Rudy Ford. That's 4. And if Rasul is a safety, I mean, you're talking, Rudy Ford potentially could be a cut. Rudy Ford's got to go out there and ball out. When he's on the field, he's got to make some plays for that coaching staff to and that front office to be like, yeah, we can't move on from him. And maybe it's plays in special teams too. But I think these next 2 games are going to be very big for a guy like Rudy Ford and very big for a guy like Tarvarius Moore, who's been having some good last few days. Obviously getting reps with the ones, but stacking success there. And then, we saw Benny Sapp. Maybe kind of keep an eye on this kid. He's another safety. He's a rookie out of Northern Iowa. His dad played in the NFL. Number 48 you probably saw him making some plays last Friday night. Had an interception that was overruled in that. But could Benny Sapp be a guy to kind of keep an eye on? Now, I don't know if he'll make the roster, but he might make things interesting, maybe possibly as a practice squad player. But if you see number 48 kind of running around and making some plays, that's Benny Sapp III. Interesting young player coming out of Northern Iowa there. Just kind of keep an eye on that one. And then to kind of wrap it up, what you're watching for, outside of Jordan Love, if Jordan Love's 1A, this is 1B, or you can flip-flop them. Anders Carlson. Dude. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be something every week. Preseason, regular season. This is just going to be something that's going to be nerve-wracking every single week because the consistency has not been there. It just hasn't been there. And I understand he's a rookie. But given what the offense, you're transitioning to a new offense with a new quarterback. You got a bunch of youngsters out there. Field goals maybe at a premium. Extra points maybe at a premium. 1 point might make the difference a little bit more this year than years prior with this team. Carlson has to go out there and just start stacking success, building blocks. I think I saw one writer put his percentage so far in camp at like 70%. He has got to get better. He has got to get more consistent out there. Honestly, I wouldn't be disappointed if he kicked. Either they score a bunch of touchdowns where he's forced to kick a whole lot of extra points, or he's got to kick a bunch of field goals. I want to see something that makes me feel a little bit better. But honestly, even if the guy goes 5 for 5, I'm probably still going to be like, you know what? Going up with that game against Seattle, still out there. It's going to be a whole thing in a regular season. Until we start seeing consistency, it's going to be a thing. I mean, if he goes out there and misses a bunch of kicks Saturday night, what do you do if you're Goody? I know what I would do, but is he going to do it? Probably not. I bring in a veteran. Or maybe it's just, honestly, We know Mason didn't kick at all in the preseason and training camp last year, recovering from a knee injury. He didn't. If Anders goes out there and struggles big time Saturday, and then, I hope he doesn't. I hope the kid succeeds. But then if he goes out and struggles again against Seattle, I don't think Green Bay is going to bring in a veteran kicker in camp. They might, maybe, maybe bring in a veteran when they're figuring out their final roster, that initial 53-man roster. Bring it up because they saw it last year. Mason didn't do anything in training camp and preseason and all that. You bring him in and boom, he's ready to go. Still got a Robbie Gould out there. Still got a Mason out there. Maybe that's where some of these other teams' mindsets are at too. Is like, hey, we're going to give all the reps to these young kickers, but doesn't work out, then we'll go into our 53-man roster and pick up a veteran that way. We'll see. If that were to be the case, I still have my doubts. If that were to be the case, I would not be surprised that they still try to hold on to Anders and put him on a practice squad. All right, let's. What do you got? What are you going to be paying attention to? I want to hear from you. Hit me up with a text, tweet, comment on the video stream, all that fun stuff. We're going to take a quick break and wrap up the first hour after these quick words.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
Dr. Logan Shepke from Shepke Chiropractic is joining me right now. And Logan, it sounds like you just want to give a nice thank you, shout out to some of your patients.
I do.
Out there.
Yeah, it's been awesome. The support we've had, going through the different stages of acquiring the Altoona office, and then now with the new child here. So really thankful for all the referrals that I've been receiving from patients or other medical providers, and the support from my existing patients. You guys have been awesome. So shout out to you guys.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And, looking at the calendar here quickly too, we got football coming up with those youngsters with camp. So it might be a good time to maybe make some appointments and get adjusted before camp.
Absolutely.
And even during football season.
Absolutely. All ages. Yeah. Get in, get yourself straight, and then hit it hard.
Yeah, definitely. And be safe out there too, right?
That's right.
Exactly. So again, big thank you to everybody who's stopped by to Shepke Chiropractic. And if you want to make an appointment, where do they go to?
ShepkeChiropractic.com.
Success is picking up extra shifts, but now you want to be the boss. Success is getting your foot in the door, but now you want to take the next step. Success looks different to everyone. And for more than 75 years, University of Maryland Global Campus has helped working adults like you succeed again. Choose from more than 125 degree and certificate programs with online and hybrid courses. No application fee if you apply by August 31st. Learn more at umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.
Experience movies the way they were meant to be at your locally owned family theaters, Micon Cinemas. Here's what's playing now. Barbie, Oppenheimer, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Meg 2 The Trench, Strays, Blue Beetle, Sound of Freedom, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and Talk to Me. For theaters and showtimes, find them online at MiconCinemas.com.
Today's job market is full of demand for skilled trade workers. Electricians, welders, mechanics, these and other trades are the backbone of every community. They're also a huge part in making sure the Army National Guard is always fulfilling its mission of service to our country and communities. Soldiers train to keep the power flowing, engines running, and supplies moving. The skilled trades these soldiers perform are the same ones needed in today's civilian workforce. Army National Guard soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. With options from plumber to helicopter mechanic and everything in between, soldiers are able to select the trades that best fit their lives. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession and serve your community and country by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
This your captain. Better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I saw my passport expired, so I went to Staples, got a passport photo lickety-split. While I was there, I grabbed some tiny travel soap and shampoo. I should have got some for my co-pilot. Just kidding, Brad.
Staples has everything for travel. 10-minute passport photos, luggage, headphones, even personal travel items. And now at Staples, get $10 off your purchase of $30 or more when you buy a travel service. Staples, your first stop to nonstop travel. Ends 9/16. In-store only. Exclusions apply.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. From fighting wildfires with air support, helping civilians in flooded neighborhoods, to delivering food and supplies to those who have lost everything, the Army National Guard always responds when disaster strikes. The Army National Guard also trains to be ever vigilant against threats, foreign and domestic. They protect our skies with missile defense weaponry. They secure our information, communications, and infrastructure with cybersecurity. And they protect us against chemical, biological, and radiological hazards with the civilian support team. The Army National Guard also stands ready to deploy and provide support for conflicts or humanitarian missions abroad. Join the Army National Guard and be there to respond, protect, and support your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Because you have high standards and won't settle for anything less, like your wife did. It's the Dan Kasper Show.
Get ready to rev up your driving experience at Toyson Ford, your ultimate destination for top-notch vehicles and exceptional service. Whether you are in the market for a sleek new car, a rugged truck, or a versatile SUV, Toyson Ford has the ride that suits your style and needs. Toyson Ford's commitment to quality and customer satisfaction is unmatched. Experience the thrill of driving a Ford backed by our dedicated team's expertise. Don't miss out on the best in automotive excellence. Visit Toyson Ford today or explore their inventory at toysonford.com. All right, coming up next hour, we're going to catch up with Dr. Austin Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for a little inside the training room. Obviously, with camp going on and preseason games going on, we've gotten those dreaded 3 words for a lot of athletes, ACL injuries out there. So we'll kind of recap some of the stuff that's been going on the injury front here. Then after that, Brandon Berg will be hopping on. We'll talk some Brewers with him. Brewers falling last night, getting swept by the Dodgers. No break for them, though, because they've got the Texas Rangers coming up right after or tonight. So no break, no off day or nothing like that. Plus, high school football is now officially underway. We had a few games last night. We'll have more tonight. We'll do a look around the prep world here with Brandon, our experts. And then we got the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlight there, too. Don't forget, Cream of the Crop. We'll also hit that up. Play along with us, though, for that Cream of the Crop. If you have your own version, your own pick, let us know. Hit us up with a text, tweet, comment on the video stream, all that good stuff. So we'll probably hit the Cream of the Crop 8 o'clock hour, so maybe in a little over an hour from now. So, but Brandon and I will have our picks for that. Continue to send your thoughts, or what are you going to be watching for in tomorrow night's preseason game, the second preseason game. Just think, everybody, after tomorrow night's game, there's just one more preseason game left, and then regular season. We're going to be 2 weeks away from tomorrow for the Badger football season. Kick it off. I think this is probably the most I've been excited about Badger football maybe ever. And I don't want to over exaggerate that, but I always had this feeling of like, all right, well, they're probably going to lose a game and then that's just going to ruin their season, in terms of rankings, because everything is so dependent on rankings. And I'm not expecting college football playoff, but just like this era that's being ushered in, it's a different feeling. It's a different feeling. It's this excitement level, like this new era, and taking up this program to another level. That, hey, maybe college football playoff isn't necessarily out of the question. Not this year, but next couple of years, next few years. Future looks pretty darn good. All right. 1 hour in. We got a couple more to go. Stick around. We'll be back after these news updates inside the training room. Up next.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
Good morning. Here's what we're learning today. We'll start in Barron County, where a search continues for a woman who authorities say cut off her ankle bracelet. The Barron County Sheriff's Department looking for Lori Mullins. Deputies say she cut off her ankle monitor while on work release earlier this week. She was allowed out of county jail to go to work, but she never returned. You can find more information and photos online, 715newsroom.com. We go to the Wisconsin courts, where the second woman convicted in the Slender Man stabbing is no longer asking to go home. Morgan Geyser's attorneys this week withdrew their request for her to leave a state mental hospital where she's been held since 2017. Her lawyer says she's making progress with mental health treatment, and they hope to have her sent home next year. Geyser was 12 years old when she and Anissa Weir lured another 12-year-old into the woods and stabbed her repeatedly. Geyser and Weir were sentenced to a state mental hospital for the crime. Weir was released in 2021. Well, Eau Claire is gearing up and rolling forward on plans to build a new bike trail on McKinley Road. The county is applying for a Safe Routes to School grant. The idea would be to create a bike path along McKinley from Highway 312 to River Prairie Drive. Planners say that would give kiddos at both McKinley Charter School and Northwoods Elementary a safe way to get to and from school, as they now start the funding project for that. And if you're working for the weekend and feeling those Friday vibes, you're not alone. Wisconsin's actually seeing some steady job growth, with the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development saying the state improved on June's record jobs, now at over 3,007,000. If you're looking for a tour of this place we call home, or maybe you're not from Eau Claire, but you'd like to see some of the nooks and crannies and hear the special stories, Volume 1 launches a very fun project. You can hop on the trolley. It's officially underway this weekend, taking some signature tours of Eau Claire. There's also going to be a cocktail tour, some brewery tours, winery tours on that menu as well. You can learn all about this new edition with the Chippewa River Trolley online with a click at 715newsroom.com. And while we're aboard the trolley, let's take it to the West Coast. Turns out it's a friendly place to be.
Online company Preply set out to find the friendliest city in America. They surveyed 1,258 people across the country, asking questions like, would you give up your seat on public transportation? How about holding an elevator, giving directions? And are you pet friendly? Turns out in San Diego, the answer is yes. San Diego came out as the 6th friendliest city and the 3rd friendliest towards pets, and number 1 for offering to snap a picture for a stranger. The study's hardly scientific, but it does show that San Diego is the friendliest place to be on the West Coast. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
You guys, don't let Kasper fool you. That's exactly what we call the 715 newsroom around here.
Is the friendliest place to be.
Our Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Morgan McCarthy.
A chilly start will lead to a very comfortable day overall, with a lot of us starting in the low 50s and some upper 40s, but we'll get into the upper 70s and low 80s with plenty of sunshine, though some of that sunshine may be filtered out by some of that wildfire smoke. Tonight, winds start to pick up out of the south, which will continue to bring in more heat and humidity through the weekend. We can expect temperatures in the low 90s and dew points potentially in the tropical 70s. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike D'Andrea.
It's time for some farm news on Sports Talk 105.1. USDA Deputy Secretary Taurus Small will be leading a trade mission to Luanda, Angola, Africa on November 28th through December 1st. U.S. exporters have the opportunity to meet with potential buyers, learn more about the market available to them, visit businesses interested in trading, and develop relationships that could lead to an exchange of goods. Angola is one of the largest markets in Africa, with a population of nearly 36 million people, and the country imports more than half of the food needed. In 2022, U.S. food and agriculture exports to Angola totaled $236.8 million, and 99% of those products were brought in because the Angola consumer initiated the need for the product. U.S. exporters can apply to be part of the Angola trade mission by Friday, August 25th by going online at fas.usda.gov. U.S. consumers spent an average of just over 11% of their disposable personal income on food in 2022. the highest level since the 1980s. Equal amounts, 5.6% of the total, was spent on food purchased in supermarkets and convenience stores that is taken home and eaten, and food that is eaten away from home in restaurants and schools. The share of disposable income spent on food jumped more in 2022 than ever before. And last month, the 2023 Wisconsin Farm Technology Days show welcomed over 30,000 people to the Badger Steam and Gas Engine Club grounds by Baraboo. Next year's show will be in Chippewa County at the Country Fest grounds in August. And finally, the USDA has designated August as Tree Check Month. They're encouraging everyone to help protect our forest by taking a walk around your property or neighborhood to check trees for the invasive insect Asian longhorn beetle. The beetle damages trees through infestation, and the sooner problems are found, control strategies can be implemented to limit spread and eliminate this invasive pest. And that's a look at our farm news on Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Jill Welke.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation have been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Crank it up. Hey! Are you ready to take? Get up! Get up! He's on his way. He's our man. The myth, the legend. That's Dan. And now, the Dan Kasper Show.
All right, here we go. Second hour kicking off on this TGIF Friday morning of August 18th. Appreciate you all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in. Coming up, we're going to get to some Brewers chat here. Brewers getting swept by the Dodgers last night. 1-0 victory for the Dodgers. Corbin Burns was lights out, but yet again, offense pretty darn quiet for the Brew Crew. Things won't get any easier as they now start a 3-game series with the Texas Rangers. Also, we'll catch up with some of the local football prep stuff with Mr. Brandon Berg. We got our Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlight, little cream of the crop. Plus, we'll get back to some more football talk here, too, with preseason game number 2 coming up tomorrow night. But we begin this hour, like we usually do every Friday, a little inside the training room.
Paging Dr. Crow. Breaking down the latest in sports injuries. It's time for Inside the Training Room with Dr. Crow. On the Dan Kasper Show.
All right, Dr. Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine joining us. How you doing, Austin? Good to hear from you, bud.
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Well, football season almost fully underway. It is for high school, and we're getting closer to the NFL. But might be a good time to kind of go over that dreaded 3-letter injury that gets out there when it comes to football, ACL injuries right now. And one thing I wanted to ask you with ACL, I mean, that's probably the most popular injury I think we talk about on this segment. When a player like Russell Gage, I know the wide receiver from Tampa Bay just tore his ACL. Is it fatigue that is like the main cause for ACL injuries? Do we know like a main reason or a main cause for these ACL injuries? Is it fatigue, or is it too kind of hard to figure that out?
It's multifactorial all the way, but I mean, there's no question that fatigue does play a role. I mean, there have been a number of studies that have shown that athletes, as they get more fatigued, so later in participation of practicing games more so, there's a higher incidence of ACL injuries. So we do know that plays a role. But it really is a complex thing. So, I mean, it's hard to predict, like, okay, this season so-and-so is looking like they're primed for an ACL tear. Fortunately, it's not like that. So But you are right. We do see a lot of them, and so it's a subject we touch on quite a bit.
Yeah, and is it, because was it sometimes I've seen other cases or reports, I shouldn't say cases. I'm not the doctor. You're the doctor over there. But stories like a guy's coming back rehabbing from one knee, but then hurts the other knee and that sort of thing. Is it like overuse on that knee? Is that a factor in it too?
Well, there is undoubtedly a higher incidence of injuring the other knee. So if you tear one ACL, you're actually 2 times more likely to tear the other knee. So the one that you injured is less likely to be re-injured, which is an interesting phenomenon. But it probably has a little bit to do with compensation. I think it probably is even more so to do with people, quote unquote, trusting their knee or their body, and they're putting more stress on other legs. When they put themselves in a tough spot where they're going to land awkwardly, then they're going to use their quote unquote good leg, which I think puts at a higher risk for injury. But we don't have a direct cause, but I think that's probably one of the big things at play.
So if it is like fatigue and all that, is there a way for athletes to not be so fatigued when it comes to like their knee ligaments or something like that? Or is it just, kind of a bad luck scenario at that point?
Well, I mean, a little bit of both. So there are, we probably touched on this, but there are programs that they can do, and they are quite effective at decreasing the risk of ACL tears. It has to do with basically hip strength and quad strength and how you land. So it's basically strengthening and jumping programs. So it's really often when people have a sudden deceleration, the most commonly being when you jump and when you land, or when people are running full speed and cut and pivot. So generally the ACL tear occurs when the knee falls in. We call that valgus. So it's a valgus moment, so the knee falls in and twists. So that's why if you ever see an NFL running back cut and their knee kind of falls in and they just buckle and drop, that's an ACL tear almost always. So those dreaded non-contact injuries, those are often unfortunately pretty bad. So point being, if you're able to keep the hips and the knees strong and keep them more forward in line, it decreases the risk of that. So there are programs that we have for athletes that can help decrease the risk. Unfortunately, nothing takes it to zero. So there's always going to be those incidents. And then, of course, there's the actual contact injury. So, for example, Adrian Peterson, if you remember his back in the day, he was running a guy, dove right in the side of his knee. I don't care how strong you are, your knee's going to take a hit with that one.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because that just happened with one of the tight ends for the Packers last Friday, Tyler Davis. He got like upended. A guy took his knees out, and he kind of flipped and that, and he ran off limping, and it ended up being an ACL injury. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have thought ACL injury. I thought, okay, maybe bruise or something like that, because when we hear ACL injuries, we have this in this mind, all of a sudden it's like a non-contact injury, because whenever you hear non-contact knee injury, you automatically think ACL. But I think some people kind of forget, and I'm one of them too, that you can tear your ACL with a blow like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is more common for the non-contact. You're right. So, I mean, probably 85, 90% of ACL tears are non-contact injuries, but you definitely will have the ones that are in fact done. With those, you're a little more likely to have what's called a multi-ligament knee injury. So you're going to be talking ACL with a PCL, MCL, LCL, one of the other either collateral or cruciate ligaments along with it. And so those can be even more devastating injuries. So when you do see someone go down hard with a real contact injury, I mean, if you just think through the years, there's been some pretty horrific ones where people take direct hits to the knee and then the knee does that kind of flop. It's like, that's a bad injury.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dr. Austin Crowe, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, joining us here this morning. One team that seems like they've always kind of had some bad luck with injuries is the Baltimore Ravens. And another one just the other day with their starting corner, Marlon Humphrey. The injury, they're just calling it a foot injury that will require surgery, but they're saying he's expected to miss at least a month, which could be the first couple of games here. Now, I know that's not a whole lot to go on, but a foot injury, surgery, and only missing about a month, that wouldn't be like the Liz Frank injury or Liz Frank injury or anything like that, would it?
Highly unlikely. I mean, the only exception to that is if he's got a low, like not a low grade, like a moderate grade sprain. So he tore some of the ligaments, but not all of them. And then they can put a little, what's called a tightrope. We've talked about the tightrope before in the ankle. You can use it in the foot as well, where they do like a little tightrope device or a screw to kind of support it, maybe, but it's more likely to be a fracture. So he probably broke one of his metatarsals. But if it was the other one that people get worked up about is the Jones fracture, which, just recapping, is a fifth metatarsal. So the outer bone It's at the base of it, not quite the base, actually a little bit down from that, but it has poor blood supply, so that tends to take longer to recover from. So if I had to guess, if it's requiring surgery, my guess is it's a metatarsal fracture, but not the Jones. And that way they think it'll heal in a month or so, and then he'll be back ready to go. But yeah, I don't think it'd be a Liz Frank injury, which would be good because that you don't want that. That's a pretty wicked one.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to ask Aaron Rodgers the other day. There was a thing on Twitter that said that it looked like he had pulled his calf muscle and the other calf muscle that he had pulled earlier in the season. I mean, you go back to 2014, I feel like he's had calf issues every other year. Going back to Green Bay from 2014 in there. And this is a guy, I remember him talking about, kind of prodding himself on squatting, squatting the weight that he can squat and taking care of his lower body. Is it age? Could there be something? Is he doing too much squatting when it comes to all these calf injuries that he's suffering over there?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit atypical. If you're talking about the same leg, we've touched on in the past that, these muscle tendonitis or muscle-based injuries, when it heals with scars. So there always is going to be a higher propensity for a re-injury. So we see people have a really bad, groin, hamstring, calf, whatever it may be. They injure badly. They have a higher incidence of re-injury compared to a non-injured extremity. So, but if it's his other leg, I don't know. It's almost more flukish. I think certainly some people who have a little bit, tighter bodies, so they're not as flexible, that also predisposes people to muscular tendon injuries. So maybe he needs to work on his mobility, but I'm sure he's got people working on him. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Because I remember the first one in 14. I don't know if you remember that too. It was like doing that playoff run NFC Championship game. Sorry, people, but it was the Seattle NFC Championship game that year. But I remember him afterwards talking about like his calf was almost deformed or it looked different. And like he was kind of showing it to people. Would that kind of like indicate a tear or something in there? And he never had surgery on it though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you talk about, pulled hamstring or in this case calf, or any of the muscles, mild injury, they can be quite severe. I mean, you can have it where you rip and it is a large injury. Now, because it's a muscle-based injury, we don't do surgery on them, but that doesn't mean it's not a significant injury. So you absolutely can tear it bad enough where it is like physically, you can look at it and say that muscle looks different than his other leg. Now, again, that should heal in, but it will heal with scar tissue, so it never gets back exactly where it was before.
Last question for you, because you mentioned scar tissue, Austin. Is scar tissue something that that you can remove if it becomes too bothersome for people, or is that something that after all those injuries and tears and that it's just something that people have to live with?
It depends on where you're talking about. So if it's in a joint or around a tendon, things like that, there are times where we will actually surgically debride it. But if it's inside like a muscle belly, for example, or a muscle tendon junction, not a lot you can do about that. Because if you went and cut it out, guess what? More scars is going to form. So now what you can do is kind of break it down and stretch it out. So that's part of the rehabilitation is that people will get like deep tissue work and then real aggressive stretching to help kind of stretch and if soften it up, if you will. And so what you don't want is scar next to really rigid, tight muscle because that will increase the risk of injury. So that's one thing that during this whole recovery process, they try keep them, stretch them, keep them limber, and keep them warmed up as they get back, and that'll decrease the risk of a re-injury.
Interesting. So he's Dr. Crow inside the training room. I'm sure we're going to have some more injuries, unfortunately, popping up here every week now that we're in football season to discuss here. So appreciate the time as always, buddy. And hey, have a good weekend. Okay, sir?
All right. You take care.
You got it. There you go. There's Dr. Crow inside the training room, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Take a quick break. Then we'll bring in Brandon after these few words.
Geist again.
They're here.
The Dan Kasper Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
When it comes to your health and well-being, trust the experts at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, like Dr. Crow, who you just heard from. Their dedicated team of orthopedic specialists are there to help you regain your mobility, conquer pain, and get back to doing what you love. They offer personalized care that's as unique as you are. So don't let pain hold you back. Rediscover your strength with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Visit CVOSM to get started. Your journey to a pain-free life begins at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. I don't know where to put this paper. I got a bunch of stuff going on here, Brandon. So, Brandon Berg joining us here this morning. How you doing, sir? Yeah, put the headphones on, man.
Good.
Was this your first time in here? Crying out loud, man.
No.
Well, it's officially football season for you now, isn't it?
We're there.
With the prep season kicking off last night. You had Chi High taking down Holman. I know Menominee held off Rice Lake as well. So, and there were some other games going on last night. But how did it look out from your viewpoints?
Well, it looked really good because the weather was nice.
Yeah.
I was talking with Justice, who was on the sidelines for the Chi-Holman game. We said it didn't really feel like a first week game because generally in week one you're kind of sometimes still in like 90 degrees and kind of muggy. So the officials, and they did last night too, but they do a really good job of just making sure, especially those first one or two games, that they're doing some officials timeouts for hydration and stuff like that, just to make sure people aren't cramping up and all that good stuff. So. But yeah, last night, I mean, just being a little bit, more pleasant than it is weather-wise right now. I mean, it felt like it was September.
Yeah. Now, I know when it comes to Chi-High football, you had mentioned there was a lot of new players with the program and such, but I got to imagine picking up a win in game one's got to do a lot for their confidence, maybe a little bit too.
Yeah, that's a good way to come out, especially against a Holman team that was really physical. And for a lot of the players, you mentioned a lot of new faces. 20 of the 22 starters this year are new. There's just one starter on each side of the ball returning. So a lot of players that last night was their first real significant taste of varsity play. And to go up against a team that physical, I mean, that can be a bit of a shock if you let it, but they didn't. I mean, they came out ready to go. They got off to a good start. Holman, made a comeback in the second half, was driving to possibly either tie or win the game, but the defense came through and kept them from scoring. I mean, they, kind of ran the clock down on Holman. So, but you're right. That is a big confidence booster the first time out.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly something to build on with such a, I mean, even though it's inexperienced, but still a very young team.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of juniors, a decent amount of sophomores playing too. So I think anytime you can get a win like that early on in the year, it's just going to kind of feed into that confidence and just, keep going. They're, keep looking to keep it going next week. Next Thursday, they play at DC Everest.
Ooh, okay. That should be a good one over there at DC Everest. And then, Menominee, another Big Rivers team over there too, holding off Rice Lake. It was at UW Stout.
It was at Stout, yeah, but John Nona Williams Stadium.
Gotcha. So we got good start for Menominee.
That's a team that was a bit in that spot Chi was in this year, last year, where they were playing a lot of juniors, a lot of sophomores, and it was kind of an up and down year for them. But from the sound of it, they really kind of attacked that off-season workout program, and they've come in ready to go. And starting right off the bat with Rice Lake is that's a good game to start for both of those teams because you're going to get a good battle, and that's what it was. But that's a good early win for Menominee to to kind of set the tone and get going for a team I think is ultimately going to be one of the top contenders in the Big Rivers.
Sticking with the Conference North, also got in some action last night. La Crosse Central did defeat North 21-0. But I was looking at some of the highlights and pictures. I mean, it looks like North's numbers for football are pretty good this year too. It looked like that sideline was stacked full of players.
Right, and that's kind of been the case the last few years, where it does seem like the numbers for the program have been on the upswing, and that's a great thing to see.
Right.
I know just in talking with people kind of about North the last few years, it does feel like it's a little bit different than maybe it had been earlier on when they were having some struggles. So
Mhm.
that's a program that's really starting to see some things click, and they're going to play both lacrosse schools this weekend, obviously last night, and then next week before jumping into the Big River season. But that's another team that I know last year, had maybe wasn't didn't win a ton of games, but was a team that I know other coaches were
Mhm.
taking notice and saying, "Hey, this is."
Because they beat Menominee last year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, this is different.
Yeah.
Like this is different with this group, and it does seem that way. So that's a team that is going to be a challenge for everyone in the Big Rivers. It's not going to be it's not going to be an easy night.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Other scores I know, just around here, Augusta falling to Pittsville, 36-14. Baldwin Woodville got a win last night. Glenwood City defeated Oliva Strum, 47-6. Hudson blanking Marshfield, 31-0. That's kind of
That's an impressive one.
Yeah. River Falls also 33-7 over Rapids, Wisconsin Rapids too. So
A good first night for the Big Rivers.
yeah, I was going to say those score discrepancies over there. That's pretty impressive. Tonight we got more games though. One that you're going to is Cadott versus Stanley.
Yes,
That should be a
Cadott and Stanley
big
Boyd
one
in
early.
Cadott. Yeah, a big one. That's a rivalry game. A non-conference game now because they're not in the same conference. But yeah, that's a battle of a couple playoff teams from a year ago. Cadott picked up a win last year, 16-6, which I think was the first win for them over Stanley Boyd since like 2004. So, I mean, that was a big win. And I really think that kind of helped them set a good tone in what was a really good year for them last year.
Mhm.
Now this year they come back and they've had some graduation, but they got a good senior class, and the Cadott's gonna they're gonna try to run the ball. They've really kind of found themselves as being just a physical ground and pound type team with a good stable of running backs. But Stanley Boyd's a team that returns a bunch of players from last year, especially at the skill position spots. I think it's going to be kind of a fun speed versus power matchup, because I mean when Stanley Boyd is, as we've seen over the years, when they're clicking on all cylinders, they're going in a quick tempo. They're getting a lot of people involved, and I think they have the roster to be able to do that and have some success.
Yeah. So we got you're going to be at Cadott Stanley Boyd tonight. Other games I know Bloomer's in action.
Yep, they host
possibly.
Somerset.
So you got that one. Anything else on the docket?
Regis plays Prescott in River Falls, I believe.
Okay.
So that's a good test early on for the defending D7 state champs. Last year that was I believe they played Prescott right off the bat too, and I think that was kind of a good litmus test early on that kind of helped them establish what was a championship season. But I mean a bunch of other ones going on as well. I mean it's all 11-man games this week. Just a reminder, 8-man has scrimmages today. They start a week later, and then they play an 8-game regular season compared to 9 for 11-man. So there'll be some 8-man scrimmages going on in the area. I know Cornell hosts one.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's some other teams that are making a trip north. I think Luck hosts one this year. So
gotcha.
They'll be jumping into the mix next week, and then it's full steam ahead here. But
yeah,
in these first couple of weeks, we'll get a few more Thursday night games.
Right.
Just as it's kind of split up a little bit, so that's nice.
Yeah. Schedule wise for any other fall sports, do we got like volleyball starting up here fairly soon, and cross country, or what? How does that all look like right
Well,
now?
a lot of these ones are going to get going next week. Girls golf is underway. They had to dodge some of the rain showers here at times here within the last week, but they're underway. I think all the Big River schools were in New Richmond on Wednesday for a big 18-hole invite.
Okay.
But next week, I know on Monday, Chi High hosts its home invite, which usually has pretty much the Big River schools and then also some other schools in the area. So girls golf will get underway. Volleyball will get underway next weekend. We've got the big Menominee Sprawl at UW Stout, which is a big, I forget if it's 40 or 50 team volleyball tournament over 2 days at Stout. That's always a big deal. It's always a fun one to see just because you have so much competition there. But yeah, boys soccer will get underway next week. Girls tennis is already underway. Altoona right now is hosting a 2-day invite.
Okay.
They had day 1 yesterday, day 2 today. So girls tennis really got underway last weekend. But yeah, by this time next week, we'll have pretty much, if not everything, underway.
Got to give a shout out to the Eau Claire A's 15U team. They scored 5 runs and had a walk-off win yesterday to advance to the semifinals today. So scoring 5 runs in that final inning.
Staying alive, hanging around. They're still going.
Exactly. So best of luck and continue to perform well over there if anybody's listening over there. So nice. 5 runs in that bottom.
Woo. That's having your back against the wall, and
Brewers could learn something from that. Maybe
they could learn a lot from that.
For crying out loud. So good stuff. We'll get to the Carpet City local spotlight coming up here in just a little bit. But transitioning here to the Brewers, Brandon. So
do we have to?
I don't have to if you don't want to.
Well, yeah, we better.
So I mean, Corbin was on. Got to give some credit to him. Corbin was on, but so I guess was Lance Lynn. And well, what do you say about this series? Other than
you're glad it's over?
Well, here's the thing. It's like I was talking about this article that I had read from Tom Verducci on Sports Illustrated from a few days ago. I was talking about it yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but it was about Craig Counsell being the best manager percentage-wise, wins-wise, in one-run games. Like he passed Earl Weaver for best win percentage. Earl Weaver's a best, and Tom Verducci's one of the best. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He's making the case, and that the Brewers could be a pesky team for a team like the Braves when it gets to postseason, because the Brewer and the numbers that he was going through was like, but you look at it, the Brewers are actually better in one-run games. Win percentage was like 574 compared to like 5 something under Craig Counsell. Lo and behold, they lose a one-run game last night.
You
so,
jinx.
Jinxed it last night. They lose it, and there goes the percentage. I think Earl Weaver now probably went above Craig Counsell in that percentage over there too. So I don't know if you had a chance to check that one out, but I'm like, okay, I get what he's saying in an essence, but at the same time, and Counsell was kind of saying it too. He's like, no, really downplaying it because he had talked to Counsell about it. But I also feel like too, that's putting a whole lot of pressure on your defense and your pitching staff, which we know the Brewers, besides the first 2 games defense in this series, we know that that's what they practice, but doesn't that put even more added pressure? You almost have to play perfect, it seems like, to win those games.
Well, you do when your offense isn't any good.
Mhm.
That's obviously that hasn't always been the case, but it's been the case more often than not, I would say, since 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Craig Counsell would much rather have the league's all-time winning percentage in 3-run games or
Right.
4-run games than 1-run games. Because you're right, it's just there's such a narrow margin for error, and when you look at these different aspects of the team, there's one glaring weakness, and it's the offense. I mean,
Mhm.
this was a question coming into the year. It's been a question throughout the year. They made a couple moves that, while not super, inspiring a higher end at the deadline, were designed to kind of raise the floor of this offense, but that really just hasn't happened because Carlos Santana and Mark Canha, they've each had kind of a moment or two, but just in general, it's just been a struggle. Like, first base has just been a black hole for the Brewers this year.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't, they've had to throw a bunch of different people there, be it Rowdy Tellez or, Luke Voigt, Darren Ruff for a second before he got hurt. A little bit in more recent times, Owen Miller had to play there out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
And for, in May, he was their best hitter, and now he's in the minors.
Yeah.
Now more recently, Carlos Santana and Mark Canha, it's just whoever's been there, it just hasn't worked. Like, it's just been, they've thrown a lot at it, but nothing is stuck.
Yep.
And, right now, I mean, at this point, like, you don't want to hang up on it too much because at this point, it's kind of like beating a dead horse. You just say the Brewers offense isn't good, but the Brewers offense isn't good. Like, it's tough. It's tough to feel like you can be a legitimate contender when you're down with the likes of the Tigers and the A's for runs scored or batting average or OPS, however you want to measure it. Like, in every major offensive category, except maybe stolen bases, the Brewers are bottom 3rd, if not bottom 5th in the league. And I think it's a failure on the vast majority of the players. I mean, Christian Yelich, even though he's been a bit, cooled off a little bit lately, has still had a really good bounce back year.
Mhm.
William Contreras has been a solid catcher. Like,
Yep.
I don't think, Andrew Monasterio has done more than anyone could have expected when
We
he
didn't
got
know who
called
he
up.
was.
He didn't know who he was when he got in
spring.
May.
Yeah.
But, Sal Frelick has come up and done some really good things. Has kind of earned his keep in the lineup. But outside of that, like, there's just, I compare it to my golf game. where you've golfed with me before.
Yeah.
I'm not a very good golfer. I like to golf, but I'm not very good at it. But if I'm out on the course, I'll hit some good shots. Yesterday, I went golfing a bloomer. I had 2 chip-ins.
Thanks for the invite.
You were working. But I had 2 chip-ins. Now, don't get me wrong. Those chip-ins were to save par, so let's
2
throw-
chip-ins, though.
But still,
yeah.
and it didn't help me or save me from shooting, a score that would probably be, a little disappointing to some people, but I was fine with it.
Yeah.
But over the course of 18 holes, I can hit some good shots, but that doesn't mean I'm good at golf. And that's kind of what we're seeing with the Brewers here, where over the course of a year, they've had some stretches where they've hit well.
Yeah.
They have some players in the lineup that are good, but just on the whole, there's just not enough talent there. That's an indictment on many of those players, but also that's an indictment on the management because this was their design. Like this was how they planned to try to win games. And while you can make the case it's working because they're still in first, you see this very obvious flaw here that is keeping them from being even better.
Because we've seen it now against the Dodgers. We've seen it against Atlanta.
Yeah, we saw it. Yeah.
In those 2 series. Maybe we'll see it again tonight, starting tonight.
It doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get any easier with them in Texas. Probably just rolling into Texas right about now because of that late night last night and then overnight flight.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, not to get too far ahead, but say the Brewers do make the postseason and they get in, but they get trounced because they get outscored. Doesn't that have to change the mindset of Matt Arnold in the offseason? How he constructs his team?
I would hope so, but you just I don't know if this is. I can't. All I can do is speculate because obviously I have no idea. But I have no idea if this is 100% Matt Arnold saying, "Hey, this is our approach," or this is Matt Arnold kind of doing what he can with what he has, because
ownership,
because of just financial restraints.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he would love to be able to go out and spend money to get a legitimate first baseman. He just might not be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we don't. All that it would be is just speculation because we don't know. But first base outside of that last half of 2021 with Rowdy Tellez, I think since 2020 has been just kind of a revolving door of relatively nothing.
It feels like it's been that way since Prince Fielder left, though, even too.
But I think you can make a good case in 2018 and 2019.
Jesus Aguilar
and Eric Thames, it always seems like one of them was hitting,
right,
and the other wasn't. So you were still getting production out of that,
right.
But you go into 2020, and the plan was Justin Smoke.
Goodness gracious,
that didn't work. 2021, the start of the year it didn't work. They traded for Rowdy Tellez. He played well the second half of that year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year he hit 30 some home runs, but the average was 210, 220. The on base was barely over 300. It wasn't great, even though the power was there. It's just been such a revolving door, and you could make. Right after Prince Fielder left, you could make the case that was the case too. But they found a little bit of staying power with guys like Adam Lind for a year.
Yeah, Carter.
Chris Carter. Chris Carter was similar to what Rowdy Tellez, was last year. Remember, he led the league in homers, and then he got
traded to the Yankees.
He wasn't offered a contract
because
he was in arbitration. Then he decided to not offer him an arbitration, so he became free agent. So that's just been a real significant disappointment when it comes to because that's really a spot that they just haven't been able to develop in the minor leagues.
Mm-hmm.
There's been nobody that's been even since then, Matt Gamble, to me,
the great Matt Gamble
is
era.
the last first base prospect I can think of.
But wasn't he converted to third?
He was a third baseman, but he moved to first base. But I'm trying to think of a legitimate prospect they had. I remember Hunter Morris, who played in the mid 2015s. He won the Southern League MVP, but that was the peak for him. They just haven't had that first base prospect that. Mm-hmm. Has been that could be a guy in a couple years, mm-hmm. and we'll see. Maybe maybe Brock Wilken, who was the first round pick this year, he's playing third base right now. Some people think maybe he ends up at first. Maybe that's him, but who knows? But right now, that's just they've had to keep trying to find someone to fill that spot because they haven't had anyone that's taken that spot over the long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For a period of time, it looked like maybe it was Keston Hiura.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another thing that's kind of frustrating for Brewers fans because, Keston Hiura's hitting well at AAA. And I think so many people aren't expecting Keston Hiura to come up and light on the world on fire, but they're just thinking, could it be worse? Yeah. At this point, even if you just DH him against right-handed batting or right-handed pitching, could it be worse? playing in the Pacific Coast League is a very hitter friendly league. So when you look at his AAA numbers, you kind of got to do it a little bit with a grain of salt. But could it be worse? Like,
Right.
there's obviously at this point, if he hasn't gotten an opportunity, there's a reason. And again, they haven't really said too much about it. But some think, well, is it the defense? It's like, but you can literally play him at designated hitter. You don't have to worry about the defense. Like, it's just one of those things that at this point I'm of the mind of, like, you got to put all your cards on the table.
Right.
And they may not be very good cards, or they may not, you're not holding 3 aces, but you got to play them and see what you got.
Right. Yeah.
And if like Jesse Winker gets another opportunity before Keston Hiura, to me, that's.
Are you going to go nuts?
I won't go nuts, but I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Because to me, and I don't like to use this word, but looking at Jesse Winker this year, he looks washed. Like, it just looks like, remember he had the shoulder surgery in the offseason, and that's significant. Like, sometimes some players just don't come back from that. And from such a high bar that he set 2 years ago when he was an all-star and, seemingly hitting a home run against the Brewers every game he played when he was with the Reds, it's just a long way to go down. And, sometimes, if you're a pro athlete, you just, because of injury, because of things that aren't your fault, it just kind of goes away and you don't get it back. And if we're going to give second opportunities to some other guys, but Keston Hiura doesn't necessarily get that. Well, remember last year when he played, like, by some metrics, he was one of the Brewers' best offensive players.
Yeah.
The
strikeouts are there, but I mean, at some point,
and that's it. Yeah, the strikeouts are there. I mean, that he's a flawed player. I'm not going to say he's going to be the answer to all the problems. This team has a lot more issues on offense than just not playing Keston or having Keston Hiura up in the majors.
Right.
But at this point, even with those inflated minor league numbers, is it going to be any worse than trotting what they've trotted out there? I don't think so. And at this point, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
But I'm not the one making that decision.
Right. All right, Brandon, we got to take a quick break here. Coming up after the break, we'll do the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlight. So we'll hit that up. Kind of have a fun top 5 coming up next hour.
And I don't know what it is.
It's the one that you.
Okay, well then I do know what it is.
I just hope you save the list.
Ooh.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more from brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at shoedoctorfootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand, call Consolidated Credit now. If you're making the minimum payments, but your balance is just not going down, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it will take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 5 million people. They can consolidate your debts into one lower payment, reduce your interest rates, and get you out of debt fast. If you're struggling with credit card debt, call Consolidated Credit now.
Call now, 800-552-6750. That's 800-552-6750. 800-552-6750.
Consolidated Credit Counseling Services Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33313. Not a loan company licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Maryland DM 19, Oregon DM 80031. Licensed by Virginia State Corporation. Commission license number DC 32. Establishment of a plan may adversely affect the individual's credit rating or credit scores. Non-payment of debt may lead creditors to increase financial charges or collections activity, including litigation.
In Wisconsin, making memories together is for everyone, whatever your ability. So here's to soaking up surf culture right here on Wisconsin's Fresh Coast, to making time for stargazing as a family, and to imaginations clear for takeoff. Here's to festies with besties, and singing along to your favorite song. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Start your summer getaway at travelwisconsin.com. Sponsored by Travel Wisconsin.
Success is picking up extra shifts, but now you want to be the boss. Success is getting your foot in the door, but now you want to take the next step. Success looks different to everyone. And for more than 75 years, University of Maryland Global Campus has helped working adults like you succeed again. Choose from more than 125 degree and certificate programs with online and hybrid courses. No application fee if you apply by August 31st. Learn more at umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.
This your captain. Better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I saw my passport expired, so I went to Staples, got a passport photo lickety-split. While I was there, I grabbed some tiny travel soap and shampoo. I should have got some from my co-pilot. Just kidding, Brad.
Staples has everything for travel. 10-minute passport photos, luggage, headphones, even personal travel items. And now at Staples, get $10 off your purchase of $30 or more when you buy a travel service. Staples, your first stop to nonstop travel. Ends 9/16. In-store only. Exclusions apply.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more from brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at ShoeDoctorFootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
Are you ready to transform your home and give it a fresh new look? Look no further than Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire, your ultimate destination for all your flooring needs. Step into their store and discover a world of possibilities. From soft and luxurious carpets to sleek luxury vinyl planks and easy-to-maintain laminate, they have everything you need to turn your house into a home that you will love. And at Carpet City Flooring Center, they believe that quality shouldn't break the bank. That's why they offer a wide range of flooring options to suit every budget without compromising on style or durability. Plus, they match or beat the competition if you find a better deal elsewhere. Their friendly and knowledgeable staff is there to guide you every step of the way. From helping you select the perfect flooring to professional installation, they make the process easy and stress-free. So why wait? Visit Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire today and discover the endless possibilities for your home. You can find them at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire and visit their website at carpetcitywi.com.
You don't have to live in Britain to get what the New York Times calls the best of British telly. Stream the UK's most brilliant series only on BritBox. Unlock acclaimed favourites including Vera and Stonehouse, starring Succession's Matthew McFadden. Plus, don't miss upcoming original dramas like Archie, the story of Hollywood's greatest leading man, Cary Grant. Lose yourself in Britain's best entertainment, only on BritBox. Start a free trial at BritBox.com.
Not only can you listen to your favorite radio show in the world, but now you can watch why everyone says Dan has a face for radio. Watch the Dan Kasper Show live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
With football season and bow hunting season coming up around the corner here too, it's a perfect time for some tailgating, maybe doing some camping at deer camp or anything like that. So for the next few weeks here, I got a challenge out there for all of you, partnering up with our good friends from Mike's Star Market. Go pick up some brats from Mike's Star Market. Portions of the proceeds going to Backyard Dreams. We're trying to hit that $500 mark for a donation for Backyard Dreams. So with these next few weeks, with football games going and bow season coming up here, load up those freezers, load up those deep freezers with some brats from Mike's Star Market, the Man Cave Lights, the dill pickle and cheese. Don't know if they still have any more Bloody Mary ones. They had a limited run on those, but they got a bunch of different flavors for you to try. And you can try them out, and then once you get that deer, bring your venison on over to Mike's Star Market. So big thanks again to Mike's Star Market for being awesome partners of ours for Backyard Dreams. All right, Brandon, let's do the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlights.
I think we're going to allude to team you just mentioned, the Eau Claire 15U.
Yeah. Their World Series run
Still going.
Still going. Walk-off victory.
Now that was
last night.
Yeah, that few weeks ago we were at the Kasper Classic. They were here to talk with you, right? Yeah,
Coach.
So that was Coach. That was right before they left.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that was a couple weeks ago, and they're still going strong.
Yep. So hopefully they're in the semifinals, which is tonight. It sounds like, or today. It sounds like. So keep her going, kids
You
and
bet.
coaches. Bring home a World Series championship. That'd be pretty awesome. So speaking of Carpet City Flooring Center, I almost got the man cave put back together. Made some tough decisions. Try not to have it too cluttered, Brandon. Although I think the man cave gods sent me a sign last night. Because I'm trying to figure, I don't want it so cluttered where you can't walk in and it just looks like you're plastering stuff. So I've been making some tough decisions on what to display. Put up a shelf last night and shelf fell and broke some stuff. So I was like, okay, a couple bobbleheads are now toast. So I think the man cave gods were telling me don't need to display that stuff anymore. So, all right. Next up.
You can take a hint.
I can take a hint. Next up. There we go. So, but big thanks again to Carpet City Flooring Center putting in that new flooring because it needed it. The tile was awful and stairs was not safe. So shout out Ryan, the installer, Jason, Aaron, Ben, the entire staff over there at Carpet City Flooring Center are awesome to work with. If you need any updates on your flooring or just got to change it out, they can help you out. We got that video. I'm going to get the video done hopefully here in the next few days, a little before and after of what it looks like. But it looks fantastic down there. Hudson's spending a lot of time down there too. So playing Power Rangers down there in the new carpet. But yeah, I know the bobbleheads that broke though.
Sure.
Aaron, Brett, Vince.
Jeez.
Yeah. It was a loud crash. I don't know how that thing fell, but it fell. So that was a sign. I took it as a sign that made the decision easier for me what to put on there. So, but yeah, you're gonna have to come over now and watch draft day.
I do. I've never gotten an invite to the man cave.
I've invited you.
I don't know about that because I've never been there.
Okay.
Last time I've been to your place was when you lived in Chippewa.
Oh gosh,
that was a while ago.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Once it's done.
All right.
You'll be over and we'll put draft day on the movie screen.
There we go.
On there for you. So you can instantly fall in love with a cinematic classic.
I'm gonna run out and try to find a Bo Callahan jersey.
Oh, please tell me there's one on eBay somewhere. I didn't even think of that, but I really hope that there is at some point. So, oh man. All right. So coming up next hour, we're going to do our top 5, our Friday top 5. This was an idea from Brandon. So Brandon, I'll let you kind of tee it up here.
One.
Yeah.
Well, a few days ago, we've talked about the Immaculate Grid on the show before.
Yep.
Which is basically a kind of a sports memory game, if you will, where you have certain categories and you have to try to find players that fit in certain categories. Well, back I believe it was Tuesday, the NFL Immaculate Grid had a category for players that played for both the Packers and the Vikings. And so I reached out to Dan and we were talking about it, and we had a contest to see who could try to come up with the rarer one, which I won, by the way. But both of ours were really good. Like they were close. And so I thought, and once you're done, you can see like the list of everyone that fits the category. So we have the list now of players that have played for both the Packers and the Vikings. We're gonna give our 5 favorite.
Our top
because
5 favorite,
there are names all around the gambit.
Now, when we say top 5 favorite, are we gonna kind of highlight like the most rare? Like, how are we gonna do the top 5?
I think your favorite is up to you. It's subjective. Like
your favorite player, or
just like
most random, or
because it's gonna be hard to
it's
level.
It
is, but I just think it's subjective because I think you and I are gonna probably have very different ones.
Yeah,
but there's for people like us that really like to take a minute and remember some people.
Yeah,
there are some people on the honestly there's some people on this list people probably won't know.
No, yeah, I thought I was gonna get you. Yeah. And the thing is, the one note on this too, because there was a player I thought of, but I've been testing this out, and you know what I'm going to.
It's tough.
Yeah, practice squad players don't count,
and neither does preseason.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So it's got
so these got to be regular season games.
They got to play.
Otherwise, that's gotten me a couple times.
It has, and that because there was a player I thought of. His name was Charles Johnson that I had known.
Right.
I knew. Yeah. Like he was in Packers camp, and I liked it, but then, tags on to the Vikings, and he actually had a
Yeah,
little
he had
bit
like
of
a decent
success.
year or two.
Yeah,
And then
but he didn't count.
No.
So
Yeah. So there's I think 60 some,
Mhm.
if I remember correctly.
62.
62, yeah. And there's like I said, there's some names.
And I think the earliest it goes back is maybe the I've
I'll
seen
say,
the
well, it's gonna be
60s.
60. It's gonna be 61.
Yeah.
Because that was the first year of the
Oh,
Vikings.
good point. So, yep. All right, yeah. How about everybody else? Well, if they got some time to think about it, give us a name. Now, does it say the percentages on this list?
It
that you
doesn't.
sent? Okay.
That's the thing. It does not say the percentage of what people said.
Okay.
So
I was going to see. Here's the thing. I'm
We
not
know-
going to put Favre on
we
here.
know we know that the number one most popular one that was chosen was Brett Favre.
Yeah. So I'm not putting Favre on mine.
I'm not either.
Okay. So we'll put that out there right now.
There's also someone else I'm not putting.
Longwell?
No, I like
Okay.
Brett Longwell.
Who else?
Another Packer turned Viking of that era.
Oh,
I don't feel like saying his name.
Somebody that played safety.
Yeah, and we'll just
Okay.
leave it at that.
Yep.
I don't want to acknowledge that gentleman. So
Okay. I think that's C-Bomb's favorite Packer player of all time.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going through the list here. You had Bryce Pop. We might as well tell people. what
yeah,
picked.
we
You had Bryce Pop, which was a solid pick. I went with Robert Ferguson because you're trying to get with the most rare.
right.
pick.
The one that the fewest percentage, and both of ours were less than 1%.
Yeah. Yep. And I was like,
And
I was
there was
so
like 3 or
disappointed.
4 guys I was going back and forth on, and Ferguson was one of mine.
Yeah.
But I think the other one was LaTroy Guion.
Oh yeah.
Because I tried to go usually my brain kind of thinks a little bit earlier. Like I have some friends that play like the baseball one, and one of my friends is a few years older than me, so like he's really good at like the older baseball ones, which is such a good hack for this because everyone's always going to remember the ones from the last 10 or 20 years.
That's the other one too. I'm not putting on my list is Greg Jennings. I'm not putting. I mean, just because it's too obvious. So I think what I'm
Yes.
going to do is like the most like, oh, I forgot
Yeah,
sort of
that
thing.
guy played.
Yeah.
Because someone played like 4 games with the Packers after playing for the Vikings.
Yep. All right, good stuff there. Like here, I did not realize. I'll save it. So 2 in, 1 more to go. We'll kick it off with Cream of the Crop.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. Sports Talk 105.1 with the very latest local news.
Good morning. Here's what we're learning today. We'll start in Barron County, where a search continues for a woman who authorities say cut off her ankle bracelet. The Barron County Sheriff's Department looking for Lori Mullins. Deputies say she cut off her ankle monitor while on work release earlier this week. She was allowed out of county jail to go to work, but she never returned. You can find more information and photos online, 715newsroom.com. We go to the Wisconsin courts where the second woman convicted in the Slender Man stabbing is no longer asking to go home. Morgan Geyser's attorneys this week withdrew their request for her to leave a state mental hospital where she's been held since 2017. Her lawyer says she's making progress with mental health treatment and they hope to have her sent home next year. Geyser was 12 years old when she and Anissa Weir lured another 12-year-old into the woods and stabbed her repeatedly. Geyser and Weir were sentenced to a state mental hospital for the crime. Weir was released in 2021. Eau Claire is gearing up and rolling forward on plans to build a new bike trail on McKinley Road. The county is applying for a Safe Routes to School grant. The idea would be to create a bike path along McKinley from Highway 312 to River Prairie Drive. Planners say that would give kiddos at both McKinley Charter School and Northwoods Elementary a safe way to get to and from school as they now start the funding project for that. And if you're working for the weekend and feeling those Friday vibes, you're not alone. Wisconsin's actually seeing some steady job growth, with the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development saying the state improved on June's record jobs, now at over 3,007,000. If you're looking for a tour of this place we call home, or maybe you're not from Eau Claire, but you'd like to see some of the nooks and crannies and hear the special stories, Volume 1 launches a very fun project. You can hop on the trolley. It's officially underway this weekend, taking some signature tours of Eau Claire. There's also going to be a cocktail tour, some brewery tours, winery tours on that menu as well. You can learn all about this new edition with the Chippewa River Trolley online with a click at 715newsroom.com. And while we're aboard the trolley, let's take it to the West Coast. Turns out it's a friendly place to be.
Online company Preply set out to find the friendliest city in America. They surveyed 1,258 people across the country asking questions like, would you give up your seat on public transportation? How about holding an elevator, giving directions? And are you pet friendly? Turns out in San Diego, the answer is yes. San Diego came out as the 6th friendliest city in the country, the 3rd friendliest towards pets, and number 1 for offering to snap a picture for a stranger. The study's hardly scientific, but it does show that San Diego is the friendliest place to be on the West Coast. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
You guys don't let Casper fool you. That's exactly what we call the 715 newsroom around here.
Is the friendliest place to be.
Our Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Morgan McCarthy.
A chilly start will lead to a very comfortable day overall, with a lot of us starting in the low 50s and some upper 40s, but we'll get into the upper 70s and low 80s with plenty of sunshine, though some of that sunshine may be filtered out by some of that wildfire smoke. Tonight, winds start to pick up out of the south, which will continue to bring in more heat and humidity through the weekend. We can expect temperatures in the low 90s and dew points potentially in the tropical 70s. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike D'Andrea.
Experience movies the way they were meant to be at your locally owned family theaters, Micon Cinemas. Here's what's playing now. Barbie, Oppenheimer, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Meg 2 The Trench, Strays, Blue Beetle, Sound of Freedom, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and Talk to Me. For theaters and showtimes, find them online at MiconCinemas.com.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. BA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
Let me ask you something. Did you name your firstborn after a football player?
Hell yeah.
Did you spend your honeymoon going to a football game?
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Do you spend most of your free time hanging out in your man cave?
Yes!
If you answered yes to all the above, then you, my friend, are a serious sports fan just like Dan.
Yes!
This is exactly where you belong. Sports talking and BSing is what we do best.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
So rise and grind, people, because the Dan Kasper Show is on the air.
You serious, Clark?
Right now.
Showtime! Woo!
Third hour kicking off on this Friday morning. TGIF, everybody. How y'all doing? Hopefully you're all up to a fantastic start. Coming up, we're going to do our top five. Top five at 5, but top 5 at 8:15, whatever it might be.
Top 5 at like some time zone in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
It's 2 hours earlier to LA, so.
So again, if you haven't done, it's this grid thing.
Immaculate Grid.
So like, I've never done it. I don't know if it's like comparable. I'll just say this. So like, it's a sports version, but everybody, when everybody did Wordle was
yeah,
it's
kind of like that. Basically, you're trying to remember like players.
Okay.
For different sports, and
Yep.
you have like a 3x3 grid, and when those columns and rows intersect, you have to come up with someone. So, example, if you have a Packer row vertical and a Viking row horizontal, at some point they'll intersect. In that box, you have to try to figure out someone that played for both teams.
Right.
And you get scored based on how rare you pick. So, like if you put Brett Favre in that spot, you'll get it right, but you won't get. You'll get a lot of points for it because that's one that everybody picks. And a lot of people try to have the rarest possible one you can have.
Yeah, and the other, there'd be teams, but then sometimes like that third one will be like what the one we did. We're talking about Super Bowl champ for that team.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have like stat categories or
like
something,
1,000-yard receiver,
or like an MVP, or like a first team All Pro.
Yep.
And you only get 9 shots to guess the 9. That's why it's called Immaculate Grid. You have to be perfect if you want to fill up the full grid. You don't get any gimmies, you don't get any do-overs.
Nope.
No mulligans. It's just you have to be perfect to get it.
Yep. Exactly. And the purpose of it is don't Google them.
Yeah, don't search it. Don't cheat. Come on.
Don't cheat that way. You want to test your
That
knowledge.
kind of defeats the purpose.
Right. Exactly. So what we're doing our top 5 then is we're coming up with so you're going to do Vikings probably. Or no, I mean they're both Vikings.
They're people that play for Packer Vikings. My guess is mine are going to be people that are maybe known a little bit more for playing for the Vikings, but also did play for the Packers.
Right.
And
I might be the opposite way. Yep, that's what I was trying to say, but my brain's not flowing too well here. So, so we're going to get to that coming up, but you can play along with us. We had a texter, Darren, texting defensive lineman Dave Roller from the 80s, played for both teams, I believe. I loved him as a Packer.
Yep, was a Packer from 75 to 78, played 48 games, and then played 30 games in 1979 and 80 with the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
So he went from one to the other.
So, and again, we're not, well, we'll get to it when we get to it. So let's do cream of the crop.
But the cream will rise to the top. On balance, off balance, doesn't matter. I'm better than you are, yeah. The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better.
All right, Brandon, your cream of the crop is...
So mine's a little bit dated. It's going back to last week.
Okay.
But mine is, I am going to give a big-time shout-out. Do you know who Johnny Hardwick is?
No.
Johnny Hardwick is the actor who voiced Dale Gribble on King of the Hill. He passed away last week.
Mm.
So at the age of 64.
That's your favorite show,
It
isn't
is.
it?
And anyone that's listened to this show for any length of time knows that King of the Hill is my favorite TV show ever. And Dale Gribble is got to be one of my favorite characters. It's got to be pretty much everybody's. Like, for those of you that don't watch, a conspiracy nut, but still with a heart of gold. Like, it's very, I think, lighthearted in the way he does it. And it was just it was a fun character because, I mean, it came pretty dry show.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a bit of a, I don't know, kind of a change up for it. And I don't know. You know, that character was always fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like just being able to voice that, and I've seen a couple pictures of the guy, and he looks just like him. Like, so I don't know if like they got the voice and they're like, we're going to kind of make him look like you.
Didn't they talk about a year or two ago about bringing it
I
back
believe
or
they
something?
did. And I thought that they had started to do that, and I don't know if he got in, if so, how many episodes, but it's going to be tough for them to do that because since that show went off there, you've got some significant characters, the voices that have passed on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, Johnny Hardwick with Dale Gribble, Tom Petty, voiced in the later seasons. Luann, Brittany Murphy. She passed away too. So that's tough because those are some pretty significant characters. So I'm kind of curious to see how they approach that.
Yeah.
I would almost rather they write the characters off instead of trying to get a different voice because then it's just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, for me this week, I'm going with Johnny Hardwick.
Well, so when he passed away?
So wait, last
week?
Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Last Thursday.
Okay. Yeah, because we did. Okay.
Yeah, because we did one, but I didn't.
I'm getting because it was 2 weeks we did the outing today, right? 2 weeks ago today, I think so. Right?
Yeah, because yeah,
it's unreal right now, dude.
Right,
it's unreal. Holy moly. Okay, I don't know if I can top that one.
I try to go all around, all over the place with mine.
That is a very good one. You know what? I'm trying to. There's some smaller one. I don't want to say smaller ones out there, but my cream of the crop. I had it between two. Gosh, you threw me for a loop on that one. Now I'm trying to outdo you here a little bit. I don't think I can. All right, so I'm just going to go cream of the crop. I'll tell you the one I was going to go. I was actually going to give a little love to some of the Packer players from last preseason game, but that's too far away. We got number 2 coming up here, joint practices and that sort of thing here. But I'm going to go. My cream of the crop is I love the Little League World Series. So I'm going to give a cream of the crop shout out to all the Little League World Series players because it started up.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing it on TV. I hope we have some more good clips. Like we all know, and I hit dingers, that sort of stuff.
Albert or Alfred?
Albert. Big Al.
Yeah, Big Al.
Big Al. Kids live it up. If you got an opportunity
absolutely.
to do that. Like I threw out the question a couple weeks ago, and it's hard for me to even think about, but like, okay, if you were in the World Series, Little League World Series, and you got to do an intro, what would be that fun fact about you? What would that fun fact be?
I have no idea. Like, I'm trying to remember this from when I was a kid and played Little League.
That's the thing. You'd have to think
I
about
would have
something.
probably just been very, kind of shy because when I was a younger kid, I was kind of quiet.
Yeah. So, but like when you're up and you got that bottom line, like your favorite subject or a fun fact or something, that's tough for me to think about.
Right.
And I don't know what it would be. And I think I said, oh, I could name every NBA rookie of the year from 1989 to 1999 or something, whatever, you know, because I could as a kid because I remembered that stuff. But, gosh, I love the Little League World Series, so cream of the crop, because I think that is one of the best things
It's
on
fun.
TV.
Yeah, I love the venue they have for it. Like, it's just really cool.
And they do a good job with it.
They do.
And I don't say it too often, but shout out ESPN for that, because they do.
Yeah, they have fun with it. Like, it's something that they don't overdo. Like, they do. It's like a safe cracker's touch. They're just good enough with it.
It's like a what?
A safe cracker's touch.
A safe cracker's
Yeah,
touch?
if you're a safe cracker, like
I've never heard that before.
Really?
I've
No, like,
never heard that phrase before.
you gotta be light with it. You gotta be you can't, like, they're not heavy-handed with it. They can be heavy-handed with, obviously, some things.
Is that a Lublin thing?
No.
Okay. Thorpe?
No.
I've never heard that phrase before. I'm probably the only one in the world that hasn't heard that, so I don't. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if it was a King of the Hill thing, but it might be a Futurama thing.
Oh, okay. I've never. Yeah. All right. That's good. That's good. All right. That's your cream of the crop here this morning. So, should we do the top 5?
Let's do it.
Should we get ready into that? So, we'll take a break, regroup. Do you have your top 5? Or are you just going to go right off this list?
I've got the list in front of me, and I've been thinking about it. Like, I know who my number 1 is. Like, I'll fill them in.
Okay. Oh, never mind. I won't say that. I forgot Jim McMahon played for the Vikings too.
Yes, he did. He actually started some games.
Yeah.
That was in that
that 93 season.
I mean, you can make a case that it's been that case a while away, but especially like in that early to mid 90s, they really rifled through a bunch of guys at quarterback before Warren Moon was there for like a few years.
Right.
Like Sean Salisbury.
Oh my goodness, Sean Salisbury.
Like there's a lot of them in there.
USC. Right? Yeah, you played quarterback for USC over there.
Yeah.
Holy moly. So, yeah, I don't know. This is kind of tough for me, Brandon. I'm trying to separate like the most recent guys.
Right.
You know.
So you're saying Shannon Sullivan's not making your list?
It's funny you say that, because that's the name I was just looking at, and that's what I brought up. It was Shannon Sullivan.
I can guarantee you he won't be making mine. I was not having fun watching him play nickel corner last year.
That's creepy that you said it, because that was the name I was looking at as right when I said that too. So, all right, let's do this. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll do our top 5 here coming up. And if you got a random Packer and Vikings player that played on the same team, who is it? Text us. We'll be back.
180! The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
Wake up and smell the magic that is Cabin Coffee in Altoona. From the moment you step in, you're embraced by the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the warmth of community. Their skilled baristas handcraft each cup with love, ensuring every sip is an experience worth savoring. Even if you're not a coffee person, they still have something for you. Embrace the comfort of a cabin getaway right in your favorite coffee shop. Visit Cabin Coffee today at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona. Elevate your coffee experience at Cabin Coffee.
This your captain. Better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I saw my passport expired, so I went to Staples, got a passport photo lickety-split. While I was there, I grabbed some tiny travel soap and shampoo. I should have got some from my co-pilot. Just kidding, Brad.
Staples has everything for travel. 10-minute passport photos, luggage, headphones, even personal travel items. And now at Staples, get $10 off your purchase of $30 or more when you buy a travel service. Staples, your first stop to nonstop travel. Ends 9/16. In-store only. Exclusions apply.
A lot of folks around here are breathing easier because of Grace Home Respiratory. They appreciate that Grace Home Respiratory is a local company that puts customer service first. They appreciate that Grace Home Respiratory provides an array of medical equipment, services, and supplies to help their recovery and enhance their quality of life. They appreciate that Grace Home Respiratory has the experience and qualifications that exceed their expectations. So when you need home medical equipment and services, turn to Grace Home Respiratory not only for the equipment you need, but for their dedicated staff of respiratory therapists who are on call 24 hours a day. To find out more, call Grace Home Respiratory at 715-832-7377 or online at ghr-ec.com.
Grace Home Respiratory always has your health and safety as their top priority. your expert when it comes to medical equipment and supplies. Choose Grace Home Respiratory.
Everybody has pivotal moments that they remember, like where were you when this happened? Ball went through Bill Buckner's legs, or the first time I saw Michael Jordan fly through the air. Maybe when you graduated college, or the first time your family vacationed at the beach. A lot of them are captured on old VHS tapes or photos, but they're fading, falling apart, and you're at the risk of losing them forever. Legacy Box professionally digitizes your old tapes to the cloud, safely archiving them, ready to watch and share. We've used Legacy Box here on the show. Safe, easy, simple, professional. Load your Legacy Box with tapes, film, pictures, audio. Send them in. In no time at all, they convert them to digital. With Legacy Box, you can save and replay the highlight reels of your life. Visit legacybox.com/Patrick for a limited time. Get 40% off your order. That's legacybox.com/Patrick.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more from brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at ShoeDoctorFootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale, August 18th through the 21st, and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
It can be stressful when unexpected expenses come up, but Dave can help. Dave is the banking app that could help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. No interest, late fees, or credit check. Join the millions of people who have downloaded Dave and get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. Download the Dave app right now or go to dave.com. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve. Member FDIC.
He may be the smartest sports talk host, but darn it, he gives 110% every time. Now here's your host, Dan Kasper.
With the football season and getting ready to start, don't forget our Pro Football Pick'em Challenge is back this year. And now you can head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and pre-register. It's free. You can sign up. You can't pick any games yet until I think they said, is it next week? I think it's next weekend. But you can sign up now if you're not a member of our Sports Talk Insiders Club there. It's free. It just takes a couple seconds to sign up. And got some gift cards going to be given away this year for the top ones out there. So always a very popular contest we got going on here. So again, head to sportstalk1051.com, click on the win tab over there, and then you can pre-register. And then once it opens up fully, don't forget to make your picks. All right, it's time to do some. Well, before we get to that, we got Gilbert Brown as a pick on here, Ken Stills as another pick on there too. So time for top five, where we are picking our top five players who played for both the Packers and Vikings, with a little bit of a caveat. We're not necessarily doing like the best players. Yes. Like you and I are both not picking Brett Favre.
Right.
I'm not picking Greg Jennings.
I don't think I am either. I as much as I want to, just for the walls.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to.
And I'll tell you right now, Ryan Longwell is not on mine either. So I've gone a little bit more of the mindset of like, oh yeah, forgot that they played. And I'm mostly of like I remember them mostly as Packers, but you kind of forgot they played for the Vikings too. Whereas I think you might be a little bit opposite where
Mine
like
might be a little bit, but there's one in there that honestly from the looks of this here, he played almost the exact same number of games with both teams.
okay. So
But for me, it's just a really fun like, oh yeah, that guy was the thing.
Yep. Yep. So without further ado, shall we do this? Number 5. We're not doing any
I don't need to
honorable
do an honorable
mentions.
mention.
Okay,
no.
so this is a legit top 5.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll let you go first. You're number 5.
Ooh. My number 5 is it's a guy I mentioned earlier, someone that I almost tried to go with both of them, Latroy Guion. Who did the rare thing. He went from Minnesota to Green Bay. So the other way around.
Yeah.
68 games with the Vikings, 44 with the Packers.
Mm-hmm. Now, can I interrupt you here for 1 second?
Sure.
Are we doing this like the grid where practice squad players don't count?
I think I would allow it.
Okay.
Because remember the list we
I
have.
just thought of this. Yeah, one of mine is only as a practice squad and only.
And I believe that someone mentioned Gilbert Brown. I think Gilbert Brown was on the Vikings practice squad.
That's the one I was gonna.
So
yeah.
I'll allow it. If you got one, I'll allow it because that's to me that's more fun that way.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
So yes.
Go ahead.
But I mentioned number 5 Latroy Guion, 68 games the Vikings. 2008 to 2013, then jumped over to Green Bay and played 44 games, including 44 games from 2014 to 2016.
Mm-hmm. Well, my number 5 was Gilbert Brown on there, and that's why I wanted to double check with you before we got.
That's fine.
Yes, he was just practice squad only for the Minnesota Vikings. So if you were doing that grid challenge and you picked Gilbert Brown, you would have got it wrong.
Yes,
because he would have not counted. They don't count.
And I think that's a bit of a bummer.
It is. I was thinking about that. Like, I feel like it'd be a bit of a bummer. Whereas, like, I think it'd make it more interesting. But then I can kind of see it where
it can be tougher to keep track of. Like, okay, he's on the practice squad somewhere a week, and then he goes somewhere. Like, okay,
yeah,
like
playing.
Sort of thing. If you're gonna draw the line in the sand, I guess playing a game is a fair one.
Mm-hmm. But Gilbert Brown, you think about him, you think Green Bay, and it's too because he only did practice squad for the Vikings. But the fact that he was over there and the kind of what do we want to say, like the folk hero that he became with Green Bay.
He had a burger at Burger King for a while, didn't he?
Yes, he did. So he did. Yeah, number 5 Gilbert Brown for me, nose tackle up there for that defensive line from Super Bowl 31.
Okay.
Number 4
for me is probably going to be one that even both Packers and Viking fans are going, who? Keith Thibodeau. Played for the Vikings from 1999 to 2001, 24 games, and played 7 games for the Packers in 2001. Big reason I remember Keith Thibodeau is during that time, that was a stretch where the Vikings had obviously a very good offense, not a very good defense. And I just remember the Vikings cycling through all of these different cornerbacks, just trying to find people that stuck. So I think of guys like Keith Thibodeau, Robert Tate, Waswa Sirwanga, guys that you're just like, just be okay. Like, just, you don't have to be great. Just, and they just cycle through. I remember them bringing Dale Carter back for, when he was, near the end of his career, like just cycling all these different guys at this time where you had this powerhouse offense and, the defense, the front 7 for those teams weren't bad. John Randall, Kylie Wong, Ed McDaniel at linebackers, not bad, but it's just like, you had Robert Griffith and Orlando Thomas at safeties. Those guys were solid, but and that's just, once I saw that name, I'm like, he has to be on this list because as a young in high school Viking fan, I just remember being irritated because I'm like, like, be better, like just be okay.
Yep.
And it just never quite worked out that way.
My number 4, I think, is higher on your list, is Bryce Pop. The thing is with Bryce Pop too, I think you can make a case maybe for people around our age or maybe a little bit younger might remember him more for Buffalo. Like, I remember him, I've got cards of him in Buffalo, like, and that's where, you mentioned, you kind of forgot it, but he won Defensive Player of the Year his first year in Buffalo after he left Green Bay. He was in Green Bay from 1990 to 1994, then Buffalo, then finished his career in Minnesota, right? The 1 year. at the end, played a little bit in Jacksonville. Best part, though, too, is that he did return to Green Bay in high school and was a high school coach at the Pier.
At Green Bay Southwest.
Yes.
He was the head coach at Southwest from 2007 to 2012.
Yep. So I always thought that was cool.
It is. And he is the current defensive line coach at Northern Iowa.
Yep. He was at Gophers.
He was in Minnesota for a year.
Yep. So Bryce Pop, for me, is number 4. And he would be higher, but there is still a part of me that just remembers him more as a Buffalo Bill, just a little bit. So
And Bryce Pop's my number 3. So
is it okay? So that's a good transition.
That's a good lead into there. You did a really good job of setting it up. But yeah, like that's one of those things. Like I remember in the 90s, like I can kind of see him in the Packers. Like I knew he played for the Vikings, but I don't really picture him too much with them. But yes, I'm with you. Buffalo, like
95, right? I can picture 95.
It was common then, but wasn't he like he was one of the neck roll dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like the big the big roll in the back. You'd see a lot of linebackers and or fullbacks wearing. Like he looked like a 90s football player.
Yes. 100%. You are 100% right. All right. So number 3, I think this is maybe some older Packers fans might not realize. Kaufman.
I actually looked into that once I saw his name on there because I'm like, really?
Yeah, Paul Kaufman. He's been around here. You'd ask a lot of people the top tight end in Packers history. He's on that short list for a lot of people.
3-time Pro Bowler, I believe.
Yeah. He started off his career there, and he finished last year of his career was with Minnesota in 1988. So Green Bay Packers Hall of Famer on there too. But Paul Kaufman, one was like, oh yeah, kind of for it's hard to imagine that. It's like, especially with these older players when they come back to Green Bay, and they really embrace in the Green Bay culture. I don't know if that's the right word, but you see them at events.
Like
they
really just kind of embrace what.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Paul Kaufman to me is at number 3. I think that kind of surprises a lot of people.
Yeah, actually I think I'm going to have an honorable mention after the fact because I kind of have the Vikings version of Paul Kaufman, but he's not in my top 5.
Okay.
Number 2 for me, you mentioned him, Ryan Longwell.
Oh, okay.
I think you can make a very good case that Ryan Longwell is the most consistent Viking kickers of the 21st century.
Oh, yeah. So far.
Yeah. But, 97 to 2005 with the Packers, 144 games. Played in Minnesota from 2006 to 2011, 96 games. Was just very steady. Even near the end of his career when the leg was kind of going, he was still very accurate. I mean, that was always kind of Longwell's thing. Like, he was just accurate. And as a Viking fan, I can always appreciate whenever kicker stability comes, no matter how rare it is. So from those years, I can definitely appreciate that.
Yep. So that was your number 2. My number 2 is a little bit more of a recent player, Desmond Bishop. Desmond Bishop, you look his career, you feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, because there were injuries near the end. Because I remember,
So,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say because he started off as he was the special teams guy for Green Bay, known for special teams, and then that Super Bowl year, that 2010, 2011, he comes in for an injured Nick Barnett, and really, I think solidifies like, okay, he's a starter now. Packers ended up moving on from Nick Barnett. AJ Hawk had a good year that year where he got a new contract. I still remember though, it was at the following year, the year after, it was a preseason game, I think against the Chargers, and Desmond Bishop made a tackle. And he got hurt, and apparently, like, he just tore, I think it was his hamstring, like, just completely, like, tore it. It was a bad injury. And the guy just never recovered.
Right.
He never recovered after that. Yeah, it was a preseason game against the Chargers in 2012. And after that Super Bowl, he had signed a 4-year, $19 million deal with Green Bay. And you felt bad because he finally, like, cracked it, right? He finally made it. He made he was recovered the fumble in the Super Bowl that Clay Matthews jarred loose. And he was like, okay, he finally made it. He's going to, and then the injury and then at Minnesota, he tore his ACL.
Right. Like, cause I remember when he signed with the Vikings in 2013, like, there were the stories like, oh, if he's been, if he's back healthy like this, maybe there's something still there. But, unfortunately for him, it's just bad luck injury wise. Just, you said it well. Just right when he's, it's like his time, like, okay, they're going with you. And then just to have something like that happen, and then happen again when he's trying to make the comeback. You hate to see that.
Yep. So Desmond Bishop is my number 2.
I'm really excited that you did not pick or at least you didn't pick my number 1 in your 2 through 4, because this was one, once I saw it and I remembered, I'm like, nope, this is definitely going to be it. because I think his career is very interesting. Corin Robinson played for the Vikings in 2005, 14 games, and then played for the Packers in 2006 and 7. Again, one of those rare people that went from Minnesota to Green Bay. Was a Pro Bowler with the Vikings in 2005 as a kick returner.
Yep.
Was a first-round draft pick by the Seahawks.
Yep. I'll let you finish.
Had a 1,200-yard receiving season with the Seahawks in 2002. Like, he got off to a good start to his career, had some off-the-field issues, I believe.
Yep.
Ultimately ends up being picked up like off the scrap heap by the Vikings. You know, he doesn't really do much as a receiver, but it's more for his kick return and his punt return ability.
Yep.
And he signs there for a year, or he's with the Vikings for a year, makes the Pro Bowl, goes to Green Bay for 2 years. You know, I think they were trying to, utilize him on special teams too. The receiving numbers aren't really there for him too much, but then he ends up finishing his career back in Seattle.
Yep.
But just I
remember the Corin Robinson era very well in Green Bay. The common theme in that whole thing was Ted Thompson, because Ted Thompson was in Seattle when they drafted him. And I remember the Corin Robinson era because, first, that was that 2007 season. Green Bay went 13-3. Favre's last year, there. But I remember a Sports Center countdown, ESPN countdown segment on the Packers wide receivers that year. And they were highlighting yards after catch. Driver was on there. Jennings was on there. Corin Robinson was featured on there. Like, they had double-digit yaks or something like that. And I just remember because I think it might have been Corin Robinson or somebody had their jersey, but it was so tucked into their jeans that they were wearing. It was just so I remember that segment for some reason.
Yep.
And then I remember going to the NFC Championship game and seeing Corin Robinson warm up without sleeves and all that sort of stuff. And I think he even had his jersey pulled up so his stomach was showing in that. So, Corin Robinson era, I remember very well.
Right.
With Green Bay there. But I'm surprised that's your number one, to be honest
with
you.
And I'll admit, another thing that's fun with this, I remember at the time, a friend of mine had bought a Corin Robinson jersey. And I'm just like, I'm not sure that was a good decision. And then, after the fact, a buddy of mine, actually, you brought it up. A college roommate of mine, the same one that gifted me, if you're watching the live stream, this Lawrence basketball shirt I'm wearing, actually got me a Corin Robinson Vikings jersey. He goes, I saw it and I thought of you. So now it's just sitting. It's like sitting in my big pile of jerseys I have. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I don't think I've ever worn it, but I just have it. And to me, that was just very like, oh yeah. Like to me, it's not like just that he played for both, but like he was a Pro Bowler the 1 year he played in Minnesota, like as a kick returner. It's just like, I don't know. It's just, it came and went in a flash.
Right. You ready for my number one? This one actually kind of surprised me when I looked at this list. I'll be honest, I did not know this one. Carroll Dale, Packers wide receiver, Super Bowl champion, 65, 66. With those or three-time NFL champion, 65, 66, 67, two-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowls 1 and 2.
111 games with the Packers.
Yeah. I mean, people remember Carroll Dale as part of those Lombardi Packers teams. His final year in the league was with the Minnesota Vikings in 1973. Yeah, 1973. I did not know Carroll Dale played for the Minnesota Vikings. So when I hear that name, I think strictly wide receiver with the Packers, Max McGee, him and Max McGee over there. So when I saw Carroll Dale's name on there, I was like, oh, okay. Fun fact though too. Apparently, I just see this right here. So he was in the AFL draft, drafted by Minneapolis AFL team. So there you have it. But yeah, Carroll Dale is my number one.
All right. And my honorable mention, I mentioned that. To me, as I look at this list, he seems to be the Paul Kaufman, but on the Vikings end of things, Keith Millard. Played for the Vikings 1985 to 1990, a two-time All-Pro, a two-time Pro Bowler. Was on the Hall of Fame's All-80s team. Great interior pass rusher. But then, he missed the whole season with an injury in 91. Ultimately played for the Packers and the Seahawks in 92. I mean, at that point, his career was kind of done. But, I mean, Keith Millard's a guy that had an 18-sack season in 1989.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like that late 80s Vikings front four with like him and Chris Dolman. Like that, they could get after it. Like, And that injury. I mean, he got MVP. He was Defensive Player of the Year in '89. He got MVP. He finished third in the AP MVP voting that year. Like, I think Keith Millard's one of those guys that he had such a quick prime, but at the time it was he was a star that burned brightly, but just unfortunately burnt out quick. Like, just one of those guys. And when you brought up Paul Coffin, I'm like, kind of looks like Keith Millard the more I looked into it. So I want to make sure I acknowledge that with an honorable mention there.
I think we got some solid lists here.
And there's some other ones. Why didn't either of us have Zadarius Smith?
Oh. Yeah, Brandon, why? If I could change one, I'd probably take Gilbert Brown off. The thing is I don't know who I would put in there. I mean, I guess, Jim McMahon, I was like, oh yeah, kind of surprised on that one, but
he was no Bob Ferguson?
No. I don't know.
No Rashad Breeland, no Steve Bono?
Steve Bono would have been a solid one on there. Although I don't think of Steve Bono for Packers and Vikings. So
I think of him for 49ers and Chiefs.
That's where I think of him too. So, yep, exactly. Could have gone with these. See, I'm trying to stay away from like the immediate recent ones. Like anybody.
Jan Stenerud?
I did think of him. The other one I would say on here is Darius Holland. That was the other one.
That's a good 90s one.
Yep. That was the other one I kind of thought of back and forth. So
there's a bit of a wow. I didn't realize he was still around 2002 because he played 95-97 with the Packers.
Yep. Was a part of that 31 team.
Yep.
So, yeah.
What a list.
Interesting though. So you didn't have Bryce? You had Bryce Pop? Yeah.
I had Bryce Pop. Yeah.
So the name I put in our grid, I didn't even put on here. Robert Ferguson.
That's what I said. No, Bob Ferguson.
Oh yeah, you did say. Don't say Bob. That's what screwed me up. Bob. Nope. Because it's one of those things too. Like when that grid comes up and you're sitting there trying to think and you can't think of it.
Oh, you get like brain blocks. Like I was that way on the one Tuesday where I was doing so well through 8. The last one I had was Broncos Cardinals.
Yep.
The obvious one to me is Jake Plummer, but I'm like, that's the obvious one. Everyone's gonna have that, and I just sat there and I sat there. And eventually, I'm like,
because you were texting me.
We were texting, but I'm like, don't say anything because I don't want you to tell me. But I'm like, I had like 26% between the three. I mean, I was hitting on all cylinders, and then I'm just like, I can't think of anyone. I had one in my head. I'm like, I'll just go with it. Maybe it's not too bad. It was like 51%. So my score got screwed up. But the guy I was thinking about was Steve Berline. I know he played for the Broncos. I'm like, I don't think he played for Cardinals. Sure enough, he was there. And actually, I went back and looked, and he was 1%. And you had mentioned after the fact, too, Matt Prater. Which I'm like, oh, that's that's a good one, too, because I'm sure that was a decent one, but still, it wasn't 51%.
Right.
So I was just, and so, like, literally, the rest of the, I was mad at myself about that. I'm like, come on, you're better. Like, just me, trash talking myself. Come on, you're better than that because you couldn't think of a random Cardinal and Bronco. Come on.
I was really hoping that I got you with the lowest one, but we tied it up 0.007 with ours. So
I was proud of my Packers because one was Packer Bowl winner. Yep. I was proud of mine there.
You picked Craig Hentrick, right?
I picked Craig Hentrick.
See, to me, and that's probably
Punters
because
count. Oh.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like to me, it's like, well, that's the best punter in Packers history. So I'm not, I would know that.
It's one of those things that it's like to you, it's not that obscure, but to me, it was.
That's where. So I'm like, okay, I picked Mark Pryor, and I thought, and Craig Hentrick had a better score on it.
Yeah, there are more people that remembered Mark Pryor like
than Craig Hentrick.
Right.
Or Mike Pryor. Sorry, Mike Pryor. I keep saying Mark, but Mike Pryor. So
yeah, Mark Pryor did not win a Super Bowl with the Chicago Cubs.
No.
Now he's the pitching coach of the Dodgers.
Oh. Well, you're doing a good job right now.
I guess, at least the last few games. But
I can't believe Craig Hentrick had a 0.007. That matched my Broncos pick that I thought was
I just leaned heavily on the Packer special teams because my Packer/Cardinal was Chris Jackie.
Yeah. Well, my Broncos pick I thought was I went with Steve Russ, Medford native.
That's
for a Super Bowl champion.
I'm sorry, that's the best one between the both of us.
That's because nobody else would
right
besides 0.007.
Besides
apparently.
anyone from Medford,
yeah,
or from the surrounding Taylor County area.
Exactly. So
yeah.
Now, if Owen Schmidt would have won a Super Bowl somewhere,
woo!
Think of that name now.
If there's a
Raiders,
Eagles, Seahawks. I thought he played for the Seahawks.
I think he did too. I think Raiders too.
I I need to look this up because I will 100% use Owen Schmidt. But I need to look that up and see because
I got it up right here.
Okay.
Seattle, then Philly, then Oakland.
Okay, we got it.
So,
yep.
All right.
So
now
when
keep
that time
in the back of your
comes,
mind. Owen Schmidt.
I didn't realize he played 74 total games. Like that, great on him. That's 5 years with at least 13 games played. Like, and like the enduring legacy for him is it the Fiesta Bowl?
Yeah, I think so.
That breakaway, and you got Gus Johnson on the call him the runaway beer truck. Like,
yep.
I don't know if he knew he was from Wisconsin, but I think that's like the highest Gus Johnsonism you can bestow on a Wisconsinite is calling a fullback a runaway beer truck.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Remember? Oh, did you know this? He's on the. I didn't know he was featured on the cover of the PSP version of NCAA Football 09.
I did know that.
I did not know that. All right, how about that? So, good stuff there. So we got to remember that next time.
Yes, we do.
I really hope there's a grid of like one of those, like two of those three teams where you got to name a player that played for like Raiders and Eagles or Seahawks and Eagles, and do a bird theme one or something like that. And do Eagles and Seahawks. Owen Schmidt played softball against that guy, so he's fast, really fast. What? Did it happen? Eagles, Raiders. Is that the one that's out
today?
Now? Oh,
literally today. I just took a peek at it. One of them is Eagles Raiders. So I'm not filling it out right now. I'm saving it for when I'm at work. Hope my boss.
I was just gonna say that's
I'm doing it long, but yes, this is a great day.
Oh, wow, we got that one already. Now we just probably told everybody so the percentage is going to go up.
Don't pick on Schmidt, everybody. Save it for Dan and I. No.
Or you better do it right now before everybody does it. So, all right. Gotta take a break. We'll wrap up this weird program on this Friday morning coming up in just a few minutes.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
Dr. Logan Shepke from Shepke Chiropractic is joining me right now. And Logan, it sounds like you just want to give a nice thank you, shout out to some of your patients.
I do.
Out there.
Yeah, it's been awesome. The support we've had, going through the different stages of acquiring the Altoona office, and then now with the new child here. So really thankful for all the referrals that I've been receiving from patients or other medical providers. And the support from my existing patients. You guys have been awesome. So shout out to you guys.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And, looking at the calendar here quickly too, we got football coming up with those youngsters with camp. So it might be a good time to maybe make some appointments and get adjusted before camp.
Absolutely.
And even during football season.
Absolutely. All ages. Yeah. Get in, get yourself straight, and then hit it hard.
Yeah, definitely. And be safe out there too, right?
That's right.
Exactly. So again, big thank you to everybody who's stopped by to Shepke Chiropractic. And if you want to make an appointment, where do they go to?
ShepkeChiropractic.com.
This your captain. Better buckle your seatbelts for this one. I saw my passport expired, so I went to Staples, got a passport photo lickety-split. While I was there, I grabbed some tiny travel soap and shampoo. I should have got some from my co-pilot. Just kidding, Brad.
Staples has everything for travel. 10-minute passport photos, luggage, headphones, even personal travel items. And now at Staples, get $10 off your purchase of $30 or more when you buy a travel service. Staples, your first stop to nonstop travel. Ends 9/16. In-store only. Exclusions apply.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale, August 18th through the 21st, and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
This update sponsored by UW Credit Union, the local Wisconsin team that's always rooting for you. Your favorite catcher makes his Brewers bobblehead debut, as fans can take home a William Contreras bobblehead on Saturday, September 16th. Given to the first 30,000 ticket advance through the gates, courtesy of Meyer. Get your tickets at brewers.com. UW Credit Union, here for every you. Join today.
You want to feel important.
You want to be part of something bigger.
something that matters and can help change things.
You want to feel like you belong.
We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it.
We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers.
We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more.
When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it.
We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors.
From the lake shores of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota,
The fertile fields of Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa, to the wide open plains of North and South Dakota.
we are here for our hometowns.
And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more from brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at ShoeDoctorFootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
If Culligan isn't treating your home's water, you likely have water problems all around you, like hard-to-clean chalky residue on your shower, faucets, and bath, stains around your sink drains, spots on your dishes and glassware, plus dull, dried-out hair and skin, and problems you don't see, like scaly buildup in the water heater and pipes. But have no fear, you're in the clear with Culligan Products and Service for all your residential and commercial water filtration needs.
Visit CulliganH2O.com for your local Culligan water dealer.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation have been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
You don't have to live in Britain to get what the New York Times calls the best of British telly. Stream the UK's most brilliant series only on BritBox. Unlock acclaimed favourites including Vera and Stonehouse, starring Succession's Matthew McFadden. Plus, don't miss upcoming original dramas like Archie, the story of Hollywood's greatest leading man, Cary Grant. Lose yourself in Britain's best entertainment, only on BritBox. Start a free trial at BritBox.com.
More than the scores. More than the news. It's Sports Out the Squeaker. The Dan Kasper Show.
Got about 10 minutes to the top of the hour here, so wrapping things up. Again, you're going to be in Cadott tonight.
I am.
Watching some
Big,
Stanley Boyd versus
the battle on Highway 29, I guess.
Mhm.
I mean, if we're gonna name it, or maybe like Highway Double D, since I think Highway Double D runs between both, or County Road Double D.
Oh, County Road Double D. I think you're right.
I think it does.
So, all right, got that. Any games on Saturday that you know of? Football games or?
I'm not sure if there's any around here. There is next week, but I don't think this week.
Okay. So I thought, yeah, sometimes there is on there.
There will be. There will be. Next Saturday, Regis hosts Bloomer.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, that there will be once we get going. I know McDonald plays, I think, a game on Saturday, so there will be, but just not this week.
Gotcha. All right. Wrapping things up here. We know we got when's Packers preseason game tomorrow night against the Patriots. When's the Vikings?
Same exact time.
Is it the same? Okay.
They play the Titans, and then next week they play the Cardinals, and both games are at the exact same time.
I don't think this will happen. I saw this kind of pop up there. It seems like there's more teams doing joint practices now.
Yes.
In the preseason. I don't think it'll ever happen, but there was some talk like, could the preseason just essentially be joint practices with other teams and not have game? Still money makers.
It's money makers, and I still think that the teams want to see like those possible reserve players because I mean, you've got different teams kind of approach it differently with how much they're playing. Obviously, with Jordan Love going into his first year as a starter, you want to get him to get some live game reps. You know, the Vikings are taking it a little bit more conservatively with their big players because at this point, what does Kirk Cousins need to, like what's he going to do in the preseason that's going to change your opinion one way or the other? You know, it's just different team to team. But those joint practices have kind of become like to me, in some ways, the most important thing, because you're getting, one team's ones against another team's ones in that competitive environment. So you can really see what it looks like versus, and yet it's not fully a game. So you're ideally the injury risk is lower.
Right.
But I don't think it'll get to that point, but I do think you're just going to see teams continue to prioritize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know, I remember, I think it was Aaron that even said that he didn't like joint practices when he was with Green Bay a few years ago. And now it's I think he's had 2 this year alone. You get teams that are doing 2 different ones.
Yeah, I said the Vikings are. They're doing this week with the Titans and the next week with the Cardinals.
Packers already done 2. The last week was with the Bengals, and then this week with the Patriots. So I don't know, but that's where you do see more fights too.
Yes,
you do
tensions are running high. I mean, and I think you see it more than in a game.
Mm-hmm.
I think because it's not a game. I think it's just in your head when you're in practice. I think you're kind of going a little different.
Right. And I mean, because in practice you're going up against your teammate and you're trying to hold back from that aggression.
Right. You're not. You're going to a certain point where, if that's especially if you're a 1, if you're a starter and that's your only shot you're going to have to go up against somebody else where you're going to go full bore, you're going to go full bore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything you're watching for with your Vikings? Anything that pop up in the first one? Or what position groups are you is there a battle going on?
On the defense, you can make a case there's a battle pretty much everywhere after the way last year went. But for me, it's the cornerback group. One of the Vikings draft pick, Mekhi Blackman, got hurt yesterday, but it doesn't sound like it's serious. But he's someone that's kind of turned some heads in camp as a kind of an older defensive back prospect, but someone that seems like he's kind of he's kind of getting down the Brian Flores system. I mean, the guy that's really been probably the quote unquote star of training camp has been Ivan Pace Jr., who's an undrafted free agent out of Cincinnati.
Is that linebacker?
Yeah, he was an All-American, but he's undersized. He's 5'10", 230.
Yeah.
But he's been working with the ones with Brian Asamoah injured, and he went from a guy that maybe could make the team to a guy that's kind of starting to factor into plans.
Mm-hmm.
With the Brian Flores defense, there's a lot you have to factor in. There's just a lot of different looks. It's aggressive. It's much closer to Mike Zimmer than it was to Ed Donatel last year. They're aggressive. They're going to come after you, but he's picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that. I think the other thing I'm interested in is, the running back room, which right now for the Vikings, I think they're kind of trying to work some things out because Alexander Madison's the starter, but I think they wanted to see something out of Kene Nwangwu, who's been an excellent kick returner, but they haven't. He's been hurt, so they haven't really been able to see anything out of him. Ty Chandler had a good first week. I think he's in a good shape to make the team. The 7th round draft pick, Dwayne McBride, was someone that he had some kind of sleeper buzz with some people coming into camp, but it hasn't quite clicked for him yet. I mean, there's a reason that they just signed Mike Davis,
mm-hmm.
A veteran guy. They brought in Kareem Hunt for a visit. But that's if it's gonna be, to me, I want to see if any of those other running backs can kind of make a name for themselves behind Alexander Madison. Because if they can't, well, then they might have to go outside to get somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And you with Green Bay, this is week 2, and sometimes this may be the time maybe they play the most. Some of the starters.
Yeah. Well, and I know Matt LaFleur was a little non-committal about Jordan Love playing tomorrow, which I'd be surprised if he doesn't. And that's the other part of me is okay, if he doesn't, is that because they viewed the joint practices more, in a more positive light, I guess, than the preseason? I don't know, but I'd still be surprised if Jordan Love doesn't play, and I feel like Matt LaFleur would probably get a lot of criticism if Jordan Love doesn't play tomorrow. Especially, he did not have a good practice yesterday. Don't end it on a bad note that way either.
Yeah.
But I still don't have a good gauge of how this NFC North is going to play out.
Nope. I think you can make a case for any team being good and any team being bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's going to make it as wide open as it's been in a long time, at least coming into the year.
Mm-hmm. For Green Bay, I can see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins somewhere on there. And maybe I just might set that bar a little bit lower so I don't get my hopes up. I hate saying that, but I mean, I'm trying to be a little realistic at this too. It's I like their young talent on here, but I also have to realize it's year 1, year 2 with those guys. So I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic. I know when some people ask me how many wins, and I keep saying 7, 6, 7. I think they can do more. I'm factoring in how young they are in certain spots on the offense there too. I don't have a good gauge with this NFC at all.
I guarantee you they'll win 10 games if they run at least 5 tight end jet sweeps with Luke Musgrave.
I think that okay. First of all, that ain't happening in the regular season.
No, maybe once in a great while. I think that's just something they wanted to get out there so people have to think about it.
But I also think it also shows you too how much they really like Luke Musgrave.
Yes.
And we went through the whole tight end debate during the draft.
We did. We did the blind choice, and remember the guy I ended up saying that I wanted was Luke Musgrave, without knowing who it was.
Yep. We went through the scouting reports without the name and without the school in that, and which one sounded like the one you wanted. And yeah, it was Luke Musgrave you picked on there. 6'6", 250. The thing that everybody's been saying about him is speed, which I think is catching a lot of people by surprise. So, but what was the red flag? It was injuries. Couldn't stay healthy at Oregon State. So hopefully that's kind of behind him and ready to go. The one guy you're not really hearing a whole lot about in Green Bay is Tucker Kraft, though. So I'd like to see him kind of go out there and make some plays and that sort of thing. So, but think about this, Brandon. 2 weeks from tomorrow is Badgers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's Buffalo over there. That means Labor Day weekend too.
Yeah.
Golly. Unreal.
It's going to be here.
I said it earlier. I think this is the most I've looked forward to a Badger opener in football, maybe ever, or at least in a long time. And it's not necessarily just for this year. I feel like, because in years past, my biggest issue, and I got to hurry up here, when it comes to like Badger football or college football in general, for some programs, you lose one game your seasons, you're not going anywhere. You're going to a bowl game, but you're not going to the national championship. Badgers were kind of in that. You lose one, you're not going more times than not. I feel like that tide's kind of changing now.
It is a little bit, especially once the college playoff expands.
Yep. And you got Luke Fickell, new era coming in. There's that excitement.
There's just so much that's new.
Right.
And I think, you've heard so much about this, and it's come at a time when I think Wisconsin sports fans have really needed it because of there's just, with things that have been going on with other sports teams that you just want to see how it looks.
Yep. I mentioned this yesterday, but was driving in 3-something in the morning. Oops. Luke Fickell's.
Did you see the billboard?
I
saw that I'd seen that they got them up, wishing all the players and the teams good luck.
Yep. Good stuff. Have a good weekend, everybody. Best of luck to all the teams. We'll talk to you Monday.
You're listening to the Dan Patrick Show on WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1.
You're out.